Thank you. Good afternoon, students. Okay, I'm seeing students are joining in slowly. We'll just give one more minute for students to join in and people who have already joined in. Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a good time. And last week we were discussing on the introduction of supply. So we had discussed a lot of definitions. Section 7, which is the important definition, we had gone through the section properly, right? Clause by clause, we had understood section 7. Today, we will proceed further. We were referring to three schedules in section 7, right? So we will understand what is there in those schedules. Okay. Please explain actionable claim. Okay. Please explain actionable claim. Okay. One student is asking, please explain actionable claim. What is the meaning of actionable claim? Actionable claim is a claim or a right what you have against another person, wherein if the other person is supposed to do something and if he does not do that thing, then you can take action against him. That is called as actionable claim in simple terms, where you have to receive some amount from somebody else and that doesn't person doesn't pay you. So you can claim, you can have a take some action against him. Could be legal action, right? So when we talk actionable claim here, it means that a legal action. So you can file a suit against him, you can file a case against him. So that is a actionable claim. Now, for the purpose of GST, right, we have understood that actionable claim in a general term. Now, in GST, actionable claim is excluded, which means on actionable claim, there will not be any GST. But then they have said not all actionable claims will be outside GST. Certain actionable claims will be liable to GST. Those actionable claims we had discussed, there are six categories of actionable claims: lottery, betting, gambling, horse racing, casino, and online money game. So these are the six things which are actionable claim but still liable to GST. Apart from this, all other actionable claims are outside the scope of GST. Okay. So good afternoon. I was just reading Schedule 1 and there is a import of services. So it would be like ask what is the difference between import of services given in Schedule 1 and Section 7. Very good. Very good question. We will go to that particular slide because there is a distinction between what is there in Section 7 and what is there in Schedule 1. Schedule 1, if you see, Ishan, that there is a very important word which says if it is from related parties. So only if it is from a related parties who's outside India, then Schedule 1 will trigger. Otherwise, Section 7 will trigger. Okay. So what is the thing which we had discussed in last class? Do people remember till which topic we were discussing? We had discussed the various scenarios. This we had completed, right? After this, what had we progressed with? Schedule 1, right? This is Schedule 1, which we will discuss. We know what is Schedule 1, that when there is any transaction, the important definition of supply says that there has to be consideration. But Schedule 1 gives an exception saying that whatever transactions are there in Schedule 1, right? Even if it is without consideration, still it will be taxable. So that's why Schedule 1 is said as activities without consideration. When there is no consideration, still it will be applicable. Without consideration also, GST will be applicable. Now, what are those transactions? First is permanent transfer or disposal of business assets. So when a business asset is transferred, okay, without any consideration, then GST will be liable. Now, what does this mean? It is broken up into three aspects. One is disposal or transfer of a business asset. Disposal or transfer of a business asset. Then transfer or disposal must be permanent. Can't be that it's a temporary transfer and you're getting it back. No, it should be permanent transfer. Then ITC must have been availed on such business assets. Okay, which means that you should have claimed the credit and you should have now transferring it through a disposal. Because when you buy any asset, you would have claimed the input tax credit. And when you sell it, you will pay GST. But your scenario is a little different because when you have claimed it, when you have purchased it, you have claimed the credit. Now, when you are disposing it off, there is no outward sales. So what you have to do here, that this condition has to be satisfied that it should be disposal of a business asset because only on business assets we claim the ITC apart from normal other assets. Now, second important aspect is this transfer should be permanent transfer. Temporary transfer, then this condition will not trigger and ITC should be availed. Now, why do we say that ITC should be availed? Because anything what I purchase, I would have claimed the ITC, correct? But there is something called as a blocked credit. What is block credit? Block credit means a credit which is blocked. When we go to input tax credit chapter, we will learn that under GST, there are some credits which is blocked. That is, you cannot claim the credit even if it is used for your business. So they are called as blocked credit. Just understand for now that all input tax credit we cannot claim. There is some restriction on the credit. Section 17 gives some restriction, which is called as block credit. Example, one of the items over there is purchase of a motor vehicle. So if I purchase a motor vehicle or a car and I use it for my business, still I cannot claim the credit. Okay, so it's a block credit. Now, when this car I am disposing it off and just giving it to a NGO, should I pay GST on this or not? Okay, getting answers accurately that yes, no, you do not have to pay GST. Bhumika Prashant Parnesetti is saying we have to. Archana D is saying yes. Okay, so now we have equal scale that few people are saying yes and few people are saying no. For people who are saying yes, can anyone raise your hand and give your reasoning why GST will become payable? It is disposal of assets. Okay. So it is disposal of assets. So you're saying yes, ITC is payable, GST is payable. But see the third condition. I have explained you that on more purchase of motor vehicle, I cannot claim the credit. So within that C criteria get triggered. Correct. You are right partially because you're saying yes, for any disposal of assets, we have to pay the GST because there is no consideration, but still it is there in Schedule 1, so we have to. But you should have availed the credit. Now, on this purchase of car, I have not availed the credit. So on disposal also, I don't have to pay GST because the government did not allow me the credit while buying it. So on the sale of that also, GST will not be payable. Clear? So whoever have said no, that's the right answer that purchase of a car, there will not be any GST payable. Now take another example, purchase of a furniture. I bought a furniture. I've used it for my business. After 2 years, I have sold it. Will GST become payable? Yash Podar is saying no. So my question was, I purchased a furniture and sold it. So if I sell, right, then GST will be payable. There's no question of Schedule 1 because Schedule 1 comes when it is without consideration. And when I sell, when I use the word sell, sell itself means that it is with consideration. So when I sold a furniture, of course, GST will come. Now, the twist in the question is I have not sold it, I have disposed it. There's a difference between sale and disposal, correct? So I have sold it, GST will become payable. Now I have not sold it, but I've disposed it off. Then what will happen? Still GST payable. Tej, you're preparing for September. Yes, this is for September attempt itself. The schedule as of now is given for March and April. You can contact the Board of Studies if you want to know the exact duration. No GST payable. Why no GST payable? On furniture, it is not a block credit because had it been a block credit like for car, I would have explained you. It is not a block credit. You can claim credit on purchase of furniture. So you have bought a furniture, you have claimed the credit. Now, when you sell it, then GST will be payable. Even if you sell it, it will be payable. If you're disposing it off, still GST will be payable. Okay. So we will not get questions that ITC is claimed or no. If it is not claimable, then you will have to apply. You have to connect section 17, connect the block credits, and then determine your answer. Because if it is there in block credit, definitely you would not have claimed. So if it is not claimable, then on that sale or on that disposal, GST will not be payable. But on every other assets which you have bought and you're disposing it off, GST will become payable. Okay, we have completed till no claim bonus. Very good. We'll continue that. So we'll just do a brief over here and then go to no claim bonus. Perfect. Then supply between related persons or distinct persons. If car is procured for business use and avail GST, no, Sunil, even if you purchase for business, right? GST cannot be availed on that. It is a block credit. If you have availed it wrongly, you will have to reverse it. But it's a block credit, so you cannot claim it. Supply between related persons or distinct persons, it should be made in the course or furtherance of business. That any distinction, any supply between related persons or distinct persons should be made in the course or furtherance of business. Give me 1 minute. Okay. So it should be made in the course or furtherance of business. We got to know this. Who is a disrelated person or a distinct person? We have a definition that any person who is having another branch outside the state or having another branch within the state which is registered, he is called as a distinct person. Okay. So person who is having multiple branches in the same state, he will not be distinct person if they have taken one registration. But अगर आपने अलग ब्रांच के लिए अलग रजिस्ट्रेशन लिया है, ठीक है, या फिर आप एक स्टेट में ऑपरेट करते हो, एक और स्टेट में आपका एक और ब्रांच है, तब इन दो एंटिटीज को हम distinct person बोलेंगे. So if distinct person comes in, then any transaction between one person to another distinct person will be liable to GST. Okay. You are aware of accounting branch concept, right? So in branch accounting, how does it happen? One branch A sells to branch B. So it will be sale in branch A, purchase in branch B. And when they offset this accounts, because each branch accounting will be separate, and once they account it, purchase will get nullified and sale will get nullified with the sale. So there is no actual purchase and sale. Correct? So it will not appear in your ultimate balance sheet, but for GST purpose, whatever sale you're doing from branch A to branch B, you have to pay GST on that. Okay. When we Ray, one registration is equal to related and unrelated, unregistered, distinct. No, not necessary. If it is one registration and they have multiple branches in the same state and you have taken one registration, then you are not a distinct person. You are not a distinct person. So any transfer between one branch to another branch, you don't have to pay GST. But if you are having multiple branches and you have taken separate registration for them, only then you become distinct person. ठीक है? तो अगर आपके 5 ब्रांचेस है एक स्टेट में और आपने रजिस्ट्रेशन सबका एक ही लिया है, क्योंकि हर एक ब्रांच के लिए रजिस्ट्रेशन की जरूरी नहीं है, तो आपने पांचों ब्रांचेस के लिए एक ही रजिस्ट्रेशन लिया है, तो फिर क्या होगा? आपको डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन एक ब्रांच से एक और ब्रांच में जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा। लेकिन आपने 5 ब्रांचेस के अलग अलग रजिस्ट्रेशन लिए हैं और एक ब्रांच से दूसरे ब्रांच में आप स्टॉक ट्रांसफर करते हो, तब उसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगेगा। For every state, we have to take separate registration. Yes, for every state, you will have to take separate registration. Within the state, you have option whether to take or not take. But outside the state, if you're operating, then you have to take registration in that state. Okay. Supply between related persons or distinct persons provided. So even an employer and employee is related. In the definition of related person, we'll see that any business associate and employer and employee is also related. So they have given another restriction that gifts not exceeding 50,000 rupees in value in a financial year by an employer to an employee shall not be treated as supply of goods or services. Because they've said that supply between related persons without consideration is also liable to GST. But now they said that if an employer gives any gifts to the employee, he can give up to 50,000 rupees. Above that, if he gives, then it will become taxable. So per employee per year, the limit is 50,000 rupees. Okay, different registration has to be taken under the same PAN. Yes, Somya, if you have branches in different state, you may be having same PAN. You will be having same PAN, but for each state, if you're doing any supply from there, as we know, CGST, SGST is there. SGST is for each state. So you will have to take a separate GST registration if you are in that other state. So why will one company would take different registration for each branch within a state? Like why such option exists? Correct. So you have something called as a sectorial, or you have a separate business vertical, saying that in one branch you may be doing sale of soaps. In another branch, you may be doing manufacturing activity. Possible, right? So one entity can have multiple different businesses. One may be doing import, one may be doing local sales. So each businesses may be different. So that's why a taxpayer may think that, okay, I want to distinguish, want to file separate returns for that branch. So he can take separate registration even in one branch. Okay. Next. Any transaction between principal and agent. By doing that, he have to pay more tax? Not necessarily, because whatever tax he's paying for one branch or 10 branches, the tax will be same. But the advantage is that whatever input tax credit is available for that person can be claimed only in that branch, cannot be claimed, but it cannot be claimed in other branches. That is the advantage. Can we have different registration within a single state? Yes, Soumya, it is possible. It is possible. And principal and agent, only supply of goods and not supply of services. That is, any kind of transactions or service between principal and agent without consideration will not be liable, because they say only supply of goods between a principal and agent will be liable. Then last thing is importation of service. Somebody was asking importation of service. This importation is from related persons or establishments located outside India. That any kind of supply which is from outside the country. If you have associate enterprises like Infosys has having a branch in India, correct? Now it will have branches in Singapore also, or it will be a separate person because there they register as a separate company, but they are related person because common shareholders and lot of other things will be there. So it is a related person. So any importation from related person or establishment located outside India, there if there is no consideration, still GST will be paid. On registering, do we get GST number for a company? Yes. If you register, you get a GST number of your company. Each PAN will get updated based to your PAN. The number will get populated for your GST number. Who is a related person? We have a definition of related person. Related person means any person who are related to one another. One person related to another through any of the modes, saying it is a holding subsidiary company, it is a associate person, more than 25% shareholding, somebody else controls them, or they both control somebody else, and employer and employee. All of this is a meaning of a related person. Can you explain the principal agent? Sure. Principal agent is when a principal is buying something, now he is giving to his agent to sell it on his behalf. In such scenario, principal and supply transaction also will be liable to GST. Now, on importation of services, will the family members be related person? Anywhere, because not only related to import of services, Somya, in case of anything, because related person will be common for everybody, not only restricted to import of services. So, import of services with will be liable to GST, provided the importation is from a related person or establishment, which means that you have bought something or you have availed some services because it is importation of services, not goods. When you import something and the supplier doesn't charge you and you don't pay him, but you both are third party, then no problem because you are not connected with each other. He did not charge you, you did not pay him. But when it is importation of services, right? Then if it is between a related persons, and that related person should be outside India, like how I gave you the example of Infosys. If some branch is providing some services to Indian entity and Indian entity doesn't pay, still it will be liable to GST. Okay, so importation and related persons, these two things are important. Okay, who somebody is asking what is a related person? Definition of related person is here that such persons are officers or directors of one another's business. Such persons are legally recognized partners in business. Such persons are employer and employee of the company, and any person directly or indirectly owns, controls, or holds 25% or more of the outstanding shares. So more than 25% if you're holding, then also you're a related person. Then one of them directly or indirectly controls the other. He is not a shareholder, but he's controlling. He's a major decision maker. Then that is also that person, and this company also becomes related person. Both of them are directly or indirectly controlled. That there is two entities, they are being controlled by one person or one entity. One holding company having two subsidiary companies. These two subsidiaries are also related person. Together, they directly or indirectly control. I am one company, there is another company. Both of us put together hold a company. So then we both are related. These are the seven forms. Eighth form is members of the same family members are also considered as related persons. Then sole agent, concessionaire, or distributor. Sole agent means that whatever sales I'm doing through this person only. So that is called as sole agent. That this person is doing businesses only with one sole agent. That so these two people will become related parties. So first point we had seen. Now second point on same in schedule 1. Point number 2 was any supply between related or distinct person. Registration, we understood that you can take separate registration or individual registration. Then distinct person is defined here. The establishment of a person with separate registration, whether within the same state or union territory or in a different state or union territory, are considered as distinct person. Which means what? The establishment of a person with separate registration. जो separate registration है within the state वो distinct person है. फिर बताता है where a person having a registered establishment in a state has another establishment in another state. Whether that branch is registered or no doesn't matter. एक स्टेट से दूसरे स्टेट में जो भी ट्रांजैक्शन करता हूं that is also treated as establishment in distinct person. Then stock transfers between distinct persons qualify as supply, but stock transfers within the same state will not be considered as supply if not registered or taken. Okay. So very important, stock transfer between distinct persons qualify as supply, but stock transfers within the same state will not be considered as supply if one registration is taken. If separate registration, then different. If one registration, not be treated as supply. Clear till here? Sole agent concessioner means a person who is doing the concession, same agent की तरह होता है जो आपको परचेज वगैरह करवाता है, उसे कहते हैं sole concessioner. In importation of services, will the family members be related? Yes, they will be related. Sir, if we register for a new branch in another state, that will let us to have two or more options. That is, if multiple branches started, GST number for same person. I didn't understand your question clearly, Naveen Kumar. Can you please explain properly? What I understood from your question is that you have a new branch in another state. So then that will let us to have two or more if multiple branches started, GST number for each person. Okay. Stock transfer, as we had discussed, Ishan, that any kind of stock transfer within the state will not be liable to GST if you have taken one registration. But if you have taken separate registration, then this stock transfer will be liable. And to any person outside the state, that will always be liable to GST. Correct. If principal supply goods to the agent, then agent should pay GST on the goods. So we will see that point. We will come to that point and understand because there are various kinds of principal agent relationship. So till here you understood distinct person. So take this example. A registered head office is in Delhi and it is having a registered branch office in West Bengal. So they are in different state. So they are treated as distinct person. So when I say it is a distinct person, that we know that if it is a distinct person, then any transaction between them will be liable to GST. Registered restaurant in Maharashtra and unregistered liquor shop in Uttarakhand. Still liable to GST? Yes, this will also still be liable to GST because that branch in Uttarakhand is registered or unregistered. I don't know. I will bill you. Okay. So this is distinct person. Let's take some more example. Registered Lucknow factory and registered Delhi showroom. This is also liable to GST because both are registered. Lucknow factory and Kanpur showroom. Lucknow and Delhi are in different states, but Lucknow and Kanpur are in the same state. But they have taken single registration. The difference here is here Lucknow is different, here is different. Okay. But here, Lucknow and Kanpur are in the same state of UP. Then, and they have not taken a separate registration for Kanpur. Then, when there is any stock transfer between Lucknow to Kanpur, it will not be liable to GST because they have taken single registration. Clear? So whether establishments have a same PAN? Yes, they have a same PAN. Whether separate registration has been obtained for two place of places within the state? No. Then whether transfer between them will be considered as supply? No, because they have not taken separate registration. But see the second scenario, whether establishment has same PAN? Yes, they have only one PAN. Whether separate registration have been obtained for places of business within the state? Yes, that they have taken separate registration. Then such transfer will be liable to GST. Clear with this? Now, third is any supply of goods or services between employer and employee. Okay, so we have seen that kind of related persons, employer and employer related persons. So, is salary paid liable to GST? No, because salary paid will not be liable to GST since services provided by an employee to employer is covered under Schedule 3. That any services by an employee to the employer is not liable to GST. Then we have provided that gifts not exceeding. This we had discussed that if your employer is giving you any gift, that gift cannot exceed 50,000 rupees. Up to 50,000 rupees, he can give the gift, no problem. But after that, after 50,000, it will be liable to GST. So gifts of value more than 50,000 rupees, which is made without consideration, are supply and liable to GST. Okay, because here the limit is up to 50,000 rupees. ठीक है. Then the third aspect is perquisite. So जैसे हमने कहा है कि employer to employee gifts will be taxable. Salary will not be taxable. So if they give any perquisite, will it be taxable? This is a clarification which says that any perquisites provided by the employer to his employees in terms of contractual arrangement are in lieu of the services provided by the employee to the employer. Therefore, the perquisites provided will not be liable because it will be in the nature of salary itself, and salary under Schedule 3 is outside the scope of GST. But ITC of membership of a club, health and fitness center is blocked, so credit cannot be claimed. Okay, so you can claim the credit on car purchase, but or not on car purchase, you can on the gifts part, but ITC will not be available to the company. Free housing to all employees can be considered as a contractual arrangement, but alternatively, this will not happen. Principal to agent. Now, what are the pointers to consider between principal and agent? Supply of goods by a principal to agent without consideration, where the agent undertakes to supply such goods on behalf of the principal, will be considered as principal to agent. Very important point here, where the agent undertakes to supply such goods on behalf of the principal. Okay, where the principal is there, now he is supplying some goods to the agent. Generally, there will not be any consideration because agent is doing everything on behalf of the principal itself. Where the agent undertakes to supply such goods on behalf of the principal is considered as a supply and opposite also. So, only supply of goods, again here, supply of services is not covered. Now, how do you decide whether all principal agency will be under this Schedule 1 or no? To decide that, there is a circular, very important circular, which gives a clarification. This circular is called as circular number 57/31 of the year 2018. Now, this circular says invoice for the further supply is being issued by the agent in his own name. When the agent is Supplying, when the principal supplies to the agent and agent sells it, agent can tell that I am supplying this on behalf of the principal, and he can give invoice in the name of principal itself, correct? Or he can sell in his own capacity, in his own invoice. So in that scenario, what will happen? It will fall under para 3. That is, it will be treated as a supply between principal and agent liable to GST. Why? Because your agent is issuing the invoice in his own name, which means they are acting on a principal to principal basis. दोनों independently act कर रहे हैं. लेकिन अगर एजेंट इंडिपेंडेंटली एक्ट नहीं कर रहा है, प्रिंसिपल के इनवॉइस इज इशूड बाय द एजेंट टू द कस्टमर इन द नेम ऑफ प्रिंसिपल, कि प्रिंसिपल जो है स्टॉक ट्रांसफर कर रहा है एजेंट को, एजेंट जो है इनवॉइस अपने नाम पे नहीं बना रहा है, ही इज रेजिंग अ इनवॉइस इन द नेम ऑफ प्रिंसिपल इटसेल्फ. मतलब ये प्योर एजेंसी नहीं है, ये एजेंट है लेकिन इंडिपेंडेंट एजेंट नहीं है. तो अगर वो इंडिपेंडेंट एजेंट नहीं है, तो दिस ट्रांसफर बिटवीन प्रिंसिपल टू एजेंट विल नॉट बी लायबल टू जीएसटी, क्योंकि जो भी एजेंट का सेल है वो प्रिंसिपल के सेल में इंक्लूड होगा. तो इसमें टैक्स लीकेज की कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, करेक्ट. लेकिन अगर एजेंट इंडिपेंडेंट है, तब उसको जो भी गुड्स उसने परचेज किया है उसको वो फिर से दे देगा. ठीक है. And third scenario is goods which is procured by the agent on behalf of the principal and invoice in the name of agent. जैसे सेल के ट्रांजैक्शन है वैसे परचेज के ट्रांजैक्शन भी हो सकते हैं. जैसे किसी से परचेज करना है, ओके, एजेंट अपने नाम पे ले रहा है और फिर वो प्रिंसिपल को बिल करेगा, तो इंडिपेंडेंट पार्टीज हो गए. जब भी इंडिपेंडेंट पार्टीज रहेंगे तब इट इज लायबल टू जीएसटी. अगर इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं है तो फिर नहीं रहेंगे. Tanush, question is, sir, what is the difference between invoice in agent or principal names? It makes lot of difference. If principal gives the invoice in his own name, then he is liable to GST. Now, this principal has a agent, and agent has my invoice book. So that whatever sales you're doing, agent, you have to raise the invoice in this bill book, right? In the invoice, if the principal's details are appearing, then who will be liable to GST? Yes, Dhanush, this is question for you. Correct. Everyone has given the correct answer. When the principal supplies through the agent, that is, agent is selling, but in the name of principal, then GST will be paid by principal. Correct. Now come to a second scenario where principal is giving the goods to the agent, but when the sale happens, agent is raising invoice to the customer in agent's name. Okay. So then in that case, who will pay the GST? Agent itself, because he is raising the invoice, so he will pay the GST. Everybody is right. So a agent which is acting independently, he is doing his own sale, right? So in that scenario, whatever transaction happens principal to agent, then that will also be liable to GST. That is what the point is. So, sir, basically, whenever agent has his name on the invoice, then GST will be liable on this transaction of principal to agent. Correct. You are very right, Yash Podar. Clear? And when, see, in this case, we see invoice is issued by the agent to the customer in the name of principal. There, it is not a, that transactions will not be part of para 3, which means it will not be treated as a supply on which GST will become payable. Let's take this example. Whether the invoice is issued by the agent to customer in the name of principal, yes. Whether he will be liable whether he will be an agent in terms of para 3 of schedule 1? No, because the invoice is issued by the agent to the customer in the principal's name. But when the invoice is issued by the agent to the customer in the agent's name, then it will be an agent in terms of para 3. So basically, whenever agent has his name on the invoice, then GST will be liable on agent principal. Correct. Clear? Because we'll have some scenarios here to understand. If you have understood this, then we can proceed further. Principal and agent, when the agent is a del credar agent. What is this del credar agent? You have a normal agent that who will find out a customer for you and you will sell it to him or through him, right? But there are specialized agents who are called as del credar agents. Now, what is a del credar agent? It's a normal agent, but additional comfort he will give you that if you sell it through this del credar agent, this agent will ensure that you get the money which is due from the customer. So del credar agent takes the extra pain of giving you the conformity saying that I if the customer doesn't pay, then the liability was on me. So del credar agent one. So del credar agent gives that additional comfort कि आप जो भी सेल करोगे आपका रुपया भी मिल जाएगा. So for that he charges extra commission for the reason that he will ensure that your sale value will get realized. Okay. Now, in such scenario, what do we have to do? In such scenario, we'll go through each scenario. Whether del credar agent will fall under para 3 of schedule 1, that we have to decide based on the previous slide. That is, through the same circular, we have to decide whether this del credar agent is raising the invoice in his name, then he will be a agent falling under para 3. If he is raising a invoice in the principal's name, then he is a not a agent on which these transactions will be taxable. Now, what happens? To ensure that his commitment is made, del credar agent has to give some loan because if he doesn't give the loan, his agency will get terminated. Why? Because del credar agent said that I'll take extra commission and I will ensure that the customer pays you. Now the customer says on the date of payment that I do not have money. So in that case, what can happen is he provides a short-term loan and interest is charged by del credar agent to be included in the value of supply by the principal. Then when del credar agent is not an agent under para 3, that is, he has raised the invoice in the principal's name, but for his work, he is ensuring that the customer will pay him. Then in that scenario, so he's giving some loan to the supplier and he's saying that, so how the scenario works, supply of goods by the principal to the recipient, seller to buyer, and then this agency person will come, he will take his agency charges or something called as a commission. So this agency service by a del credar to the seller or buyer, he will charge his commission charges. And then this loan service is provided by the del credar agent to the buyer. Okay. So in that scenario, he is giving a loan and he is charging interest. So the question is whether this interest value should be added to the value of supply. Because when I make a supply, any ancillary charges, suppose I buy a air conditioner and incidental charges of installation. So installation is done for the air conditioner. So when the air conditioner person charges you GST, he will have to charge for the air conditioner and the installation. That is called as a composite supply. When two supplies are related to each other, दे आर कॉल्ड एज कॉम्पोजिट सप्लाई. तो एयर कंडीशनर का जो जीएसटी रेट रहेगा वो इंस्टॉलेशन के लिए भी रहेगा. सो वॉट एवर जीएसटी आई चार्ज फॉर air conditioner, that GST rate I will charge for installation also. Okay. So that's why I'm saying this, that essence of composite supply. Whatever is a transaction of a composite supply will get added to the main supply. So in this case, when the loan and interest is getting charged, the question is whether interest will become part of the value of supply. The answer is no, because the agent is giving loan to the buyer in his capacity, not affecting the sales. Third scenario, when the del credar agent is an agent under para 3 and makes payment on behalf of the buyer and charges interest to the buyer, will such supply has to be increased? Yes. In this scenario, it has to be increased, because here how is happening? Supply is happening of supply of goods by the principal to the del credar agent, because invoice is raised by the del credar agent in his own name, right? So supply is happening by the principal to the agent. Agent is supplying to the buyer, and agency services again he will charge. And loan is provided by the del credar agent to the buyer. So in this scenario, interest has to be included. In second scenario, interest need not be included. Clear? Any doubts in this slide? Anup Kumar, what is para 3? Para 3 is like how we have this, no, that schedule 1, point number 3, that is referred as schedule number 1, para 3. Yes, Mahak, I have explained in Hindi also, so that both the language, whoever is comfortable can understand. Yes, Anubhav. So if I have to explain this slide in brief, that first you have to determine whether the agent is an independent agent or a dependent agent. If he's an independent agent, then the transaction between principal to agent without consideration is also liable to GST. So when we know that the agent is an independent agent, that is, when will we call him as an independent agent? When he raises invoice in his own name. So in that scenario, supply between principal to agent is liable to GST. Now, we know that basic thing. Now, when the interest is charged by this independent agent, it has to be included in the value of supply. But if it is provided by an agent who's not an independent agent, that is, when the del credar agent is not an agent under para 3, then it will not be included in the value of supply. Why interest is charged by agent? Because agent gave a commitment, Anup Kumar, that I will ensure that the customer pays you. Now, if the customer doesn't pay, he will grant him loan and say that you pay to him, for which I will charge interest. That's why he will charge interest for giving loan to the buyer. Otherwise, what happens if he doesn't give loan? His commission will get forfeited. Commission will get cancelled. That's why he will give loan and charge interest from the buyer. Okay. Next is on importation of services. Four things were there under Schedule 1. Now we'll go to the fourth one. Importation of services says that any kind of import which I do without consideration from a related person or from his establishment outside India. So difference between Section 7 and the Schedule 1 of the Section 7 is that here it says that importation. In 7 it says importation not for business purpose also. Here importation, it should be in the course of business, but it should be without consideration. But from whom? From a related person or his establishment who is located outside India. However, in section 7(1)(b), we have seen that import of services, whether or not in the course of business, is covered under supply, but that has to be a consideration. Here it is without consideration. So if we take various scenarios, we will understand this. Soumya's, I'll just get back to you. Importation of services, the point is very clear that when I do importation of services, there is a consideration which is present. Okay, importation of services and consideration is present, and it is in the course of furtherance of business. No, it is not in the course of furtherance of business, still taxable. Because 7(1)(b) says that when you are importing something, you have a consideration, even if it is not in the course of business, it is still liable. Fine. Second variant, when I do importation, consideration is not there, right? But it is in the course or furtherance of business. Will it be liable? Yes, it will be taxable only if it is from a person who is related and that person is located outside India. Okay. You have to buy it from a related person and that related party should be outside India. Third scenario, importation of services where there is no consideration and it is not in the course of furtherance of business also. Consideration bhi nahi hai and in the course of business bhi nahi hai. Then it is not taxable. Okay? So GST law is a law which tries to envisage a lot of things and then it says whether it be taxable or not. So what is the difference between related person and his establishment? Same, Smriti. Establishment of a related person. It could be a related person or from his establishment, which means that it is a related party or a branch office which is outside India. Establishment will mean a branch office outside India. Anubhav, yes, there is or. So that or is for either you can buy it from a related person, that the services you can avail from a related person, or from your establishment outside India. So it could be from either of them. Soumya, your point on agent, independent agent, interest included in the value, independent agent, interest included in the value, not independent, then interest not included in the value. Correct. Your analysis is very right. Yes, yes. This slide, please note down, this is not there in your board of studies. It is not there in your material. Based on analysis, I have prepared this. So please understand this. क्योंकि import में generally आपको confusion हो सकता है. Schedule 1 में भी दिया है और section 7 में भी दिया है. So this, please understand this ताकि आपको useful हो जाएगा. ठीक है. We understood schedule 1. हमारा schedule 1 का explanation खत्म हो चुका है. दूसरे कुछ सिनारियोज दिए गए हैं कि जहां पे सप्लाई विदाउट कंसिडरेशन है वो शेड्यूल 1 है वेयर इवन इफ नो कंसिडरेशन वुड बी कंसिडर्ड एज सप्लाई. तो फिर सेल्स प्रमोशन स्कीम में सो व्हाट हैपेंस इन जीएसटी इज दे हैव एनालाइज्ड एज वी सेड, बट देयर कुड बी सम बिजनेस सिनारियोज व्हिच इज नॉट वेरी क्लियर, राइट? क्योंकि लॉ पूरा सब चीजें कवर नहीं सब कर सकता है. मेजरली इट विल कवर फ्यू थिंग्स व्हिच द ट्रेड इज डूइंग सम बिजनेस एंड दे फाइंड सम चैलेंजेस. तो उसके लिए वो क्या करेंगे? दे विल गिव अ clarification. The clarification is given through a document called as circular. So government issues a lot of circulars and उस circulars के basis पे आपको questions आ सकते हैं. Okay, so it's like a question paper for you, that the question is mentioned in the circular and answer is also given. So nice, no? But you have to remember it. The tough part is you have to remember those circulars ताकि उसमें जो reasoning है, you should give the same reason, right? So what does this circular say on sales promotion? Saying that अगर आप sales promotion करते हो, are you liable to GST? Because it is without consideration. And schedule 1, we just read that any disposal without GST will be liable to GST. There it says that are not liable to GST or liable to GST. Now, sales promotion could be of two types. When you have free samples that do not qualify as supply, because supply का condition क्या है? It should be with consideration. Correct? So supply should be with consideration. So in case of free samples, you are like a doctor. Pharma companies give free samples to doctors, saying that you can use them. On that, will there be GST? What do you think? No GST. The reason is that there is no consideration. But जब हम input tax पढ़ेंगे, we will see that you are getting the benefit of input tax with the condition that you make a outward taxable supply. तो आप samples बनाने के लिए जो भी raw materials you consume, on that you have claimed the credit. Input tax credit you can claim on all purchases, so you have claimed it. But now when you're supplying, you are not paying any tax to the government. So government is saying, okay, don't pay tax on that, but whatever credit you have claimed on your purchases, that you reverse. That is called as input needs to be reversed. Whatever raw materials you have procured, whatever services you have used for such free sample, you have to reverse the input tax credit. Now there could be another scenario wherein free samples nahi hai, but I have a buy one get one scheme that you buy one sheet of medicine, I will give you second sheet free. 10 medicine के साथ 10 medicines free. Is that liable to GST? Or because again, it is free, consideration is not there. Is it a supply? No GST. Which one no GST, Mosam? Whether on the, so when I buy one, get one. So whenever I see this buy one, get one scheme, I tell my friend, you buy that one. The second free is for me because you have paid for the first one. Second one is for me. Is that possible? So what happens in GST? When buy one, get one happens, supplier sells one, GST is collected on that. On the second one, what do we do? Correct. So few people are saying no GST, few people are saying liable. Not liable because when the seller sells one and gives the other one free, it is always treated it as a composite supply, which means the price of one itself will be considered as a price for two. The second is not actually free. It is just a scheme wherein the value of both is put together in the first one. So that's why in a case of a buy one get one scheme, you do not have to pay GST or you do not have to reverse input tax credit also. Okay. How do the reverse? We'll come to input tax credit. That time we'll know that when you file the return, you claim full input tax credit, and then you have a reversal column there. That is where you will reverse it. Clear. Good. So you keep participating like this so that then we will enjoy this subject. 71AA. So GST charge on sum of both their prices. Correct. It will be on one itself. Suppose there is a powder packet, powder box of 100 rupees. Buy one, get one free. So GST is paid on 100. So effectively, you have to understand that it is 50 rupees plus 50 rupees. So you're paying on 100 ultimately. That is what they're saying. It is fine. You don't have to pay GST on that other free product. What if they don't reverse? They have to reverse, Somya. The law says these things. If they don't reverse during assessment, during audit, there is things are there, which is there for the officer. They will get it reversed that time. इसमें सबा शकील इसमें कुछ भी क्वेश्चंस आ सकते हैं थियोरेटिकल भी मेरे ख्याल से आ सकते हैं बिकॉज ये चैप्टर 7 इंपॉर्टेंट है तो आपको थियोरेटिकल एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हो या फिर इसका एप्लीकेशन के लिए आपको वर्कआउट करने का भी क्वेश्चंस आ सकता है 7.1 हो गया 7.1 ए हो गया नाउ 7.1 AA says that activities or transactions by a person other than an individual to its members or constituents for cash deferred payment or other valuable consideration is also supply. And for the purpose of this clause, it is hereby clarified that notwithstanding anything contained in any other law and things like that, तो explanation दिया है. So what it's saying is, here any services by a club, association or housing society, ओके, क्योंकि हाउसिंग सोसाइटी में क्या होता है कि सब लोग कलेक्शन लेते हैं और सोसाइटी को देते हैं. सोसाइटी क्या करती है? मेंटेनेंस करती है. तो उसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगेगा या नहीं, वो क्वेश्चन था. 71AA इज क्लैरिफाइंग दैट कि जब भी मेंबर्स अपने एसोसिएशन को पेमेंट करते हैं तब जीएसटी लगेगा. ठीक है. एंड एनी क्लब और एसोसिएशन जो कलेक्ट करती है ईयरली एनुअल सब्सक्रिप्शन चार्जेस, एनुअल मेंटेनेंस चार्जेस, उसके ऊपर भी जीएसटी विल बी एप्लीकेबल. Okay. So 71AA says simple thing. Any activities by an association to its members will be liable to GST. Then 7(1) capital A. We have seen 7(1) small capital A. Now we'll see 7(1) capital A, which is talking about classification. This classification is given in Schedule 2. On which rate GST? मौसम कुमारी, जो 100 रुपीज है उसके ऊपर ही जीएसटी लगेगा. Now GST law says that on software is a goods or services, we don't know. There is a confusion. So we don't know on whether GST rate for goods have to apply or GST rate for services have to apply. And in case of job working, rate of job work for a product, if service rate is 18%, but the rate on steel, suppose I have a steel rod, I'm sending it for job worker. Job worker क्या करता है? Whatever job I'll give, he'll do some job work on it. He is called as a job worker. जैसे major manufacturing activity I'm doing, some specialized skill will be required to be done by a job worker. जैसे उसको bend करना है, मेरे फैक्ट्री में बेंडिंग का ऑप्शन नहीं है, सो आई सेंड दैट मैन्युफैक्चर्ड प्रोडक्ट टू अ जॉब वर्कर, वो उसको बेंड करके देगा मुझे, एंड ही विल रिटर्न द गुड्स बैक. सो इज दैट हिज गुड्स और माय गुड्स? It is definitely my goods. He's only doing the job worker. For that, he will charge the job worker charges. So on that job worker charges, what GST rate he has to charge? Should he charge 18% or should he charge the rate on the steel product what I'm given him? Okay, that was the question which was asked. And to give the answer for that, this Schedule 2 is the answer for all of that. Schedule 2 says that I will give you classification. What is the goods and what is the services? So we'll go to Schedule 2 to understand this. We'll just go to Schedule 2 in brief because might not be very much relevant for your exam perspective, but as an understanding, we'll just touch base that. So it says that what kind of transfer and whether it is goods or services. Any transfer of title in goods. जब भी आप title देते हो, you are selling a laptop. The buyer comes, he buys the laptop. So you are transferring the title. So when there is a transfer of title in goods, it is a supply of goods. When the transfer of right in goods is transferred, matlab, you are giving the laptop to him, but title you are not transferring. What are you transferring? You are transferring the right to use. Matlab, he can use it for a specified period, जैसे rent pay, and then he has to give it back. So if you give the goods on rent, even though goods are involved, it is a service because rental is a services. Given some example, equipment and machinery is given to the contractor, renting of machinery, rental service of transportation vehicles. These are all supply of service. So this classification says when the goods is sold, it is supply of goods. When it is given a temporary use or a right to use, it is a supply of service. Then any transfer of title in goods under an agreement, Any right, sir? Right to possession and right to use the same? Yes. Right to, no, right to possession and right to use the same is different, because right to possession is you're holding it. But right to use the same is more a legal right that you can hold it for a period which is agreed by the supplier. So there is a difference between right to possession and right to use the same. You may be in possession, but you may not have a right to use it. Like a baler and bailey. You can keep it, but you can't use it. That is right to possession. Any transfer in title of goods under an agreement which stipulates the property in goods shall pass at a future date upon payment of consideration, that is supply of goods. And in case of land and building, any lease, tenancy, license to occupy land is all supply of service. Letting of property is again leasing or letting out of a building is again supply of service. Any treatment of process, जैसे हमने job worker का बोला था, any job worker doing any job on somebody else's goods, it is supply of service. Then transfer of business assets is supply of goods. अगर businesses पूरा transfer कर दिया, then it is supply of goods. Then whereby under a direction of a person carrying on a business, if you're transferring, then it is a supply of service. Where goods which are held or used for the purpose of business are put to any private use, then it is supply of services. That is when you are using for your business purposes, now you're moving it to your personal use, then that will be supply of services. Then when any person ceases to be a taxable person, मतलब he was continuing his business, is closed now. तो जो भी उसके बचे हुए असेट्स है, उसको जो भी ट्रांजैक्शन करेंगे, दैट इज सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स. देन फॉलोइंग इज सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज, रेंटिंग ऑफ इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी. जो भी इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी है उसके ऊपर हम रेंट कलेक्ट करते हैं, दैट इज सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज. कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ कॉम्प्लेक्स, जब आप नया बिल्डिंग खरीदते हो, ठीक है, यू वुड हैव सीन दैट लॉट ऑफ बिल्डिंग्स आर कमिंग अप. ऑन दैट विल यू पे जीएसटी और विल यू नॉट पे जीएसटी? You will pay GST because it is a construction service. और वो immovable property नहीं बना है, तब तक you will pay GST. For residential renting, is GST liable? No. For residential renting, there is a exception. There is a exemption. Exemption notification says you don't have to pay. Yes, yes, this presentation I will upload along with this Word document also. Temporary transfer of use or enjoyment of any intellectual property right is supply of service. Then developing, designing, programming, customization of a information technology software. So we had raised a question whether software is goods or services. Software is a service itself. Then agreeing to an obligation to refrain something, doing something positively or doing something negatively is a supply of service. Transfer of right to use any goods, supply of service. Composite supply of works contract. Works contract is a supply of services only. That is what this classification basically says. What is intellectual property? ट्रेडमार्क, कॉपीराइट वगैरह जो हमने सुना है ना, जिसका राइट होता है, दैट यू हैव अ राइट ऑन दैट प्रॉपर्टी, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी. Renting of movable property, that is car, is a supply of service. Yes, very much. Renting of movable property is a supply of service. Okay, now let's get back to our slide. So we have understood schedule 1 and we have understood schedule 2. Now, schedule 2 में specific questions are there. We will just go to this and then take a break and come back to schedule 3. Now, schedule 2 says that, so please explain exceptions for where person transfer business assets but ceases to be a taxable person. Software is a service that is considered, Sumit, in schedule 2, that it's a service. Please explain exceptions for where person transfer business asset but ceases to be a taxable person. So when he ceases to be a taxable person. where any person ceases to be a taxable person, that he is no more a taxable person and he is transferring the goods. Any goods forming part of the assets of any business carried on by him shall be deemed to be supplied by him in the course of business. That if he winds down his business, whatever assets is remaining, that will be treated as supply of goods only, because whatever assets he's having will all be treated as goods. Clear, Ishan? Okay. So when we go to schedule 2, there were some clarifications. As I said earlier, circular. So there was a circular on what happens in case of a pagdi. What is pagdi? It is like a goodwill, that you get some goodwill for your tenancy rights. So we know that for residential transfer, there is no GST. On rental, अपने घर के rent के लिए we don't pay GST. But then the question came that there is something called as a pagdi arrangement which takes place, wherein a landlord has various rights. He has a right of possession, he has a right of control, he has a right of exclusion, he has a right to derive income, and he has a right of disposition. That is, he can sell it anytime. Now, out of this right, one of the right he's transferred. What right he's transferred? He's transferred the right to collect the rent. That is, he will not collect rent from the tenant, he will give it to somebody else. The grant of tenancy right in residential dwelling is exempt, but surrendering the tenancy right is liable to GST, which means that this monthly rental I will not collect, I will give it to you. You collect the rent from the other person, but you give me one lump sum amount. Now, this lump sum amount, what we am getting, that is liable to GST. Okay, because it is a arrangement beyond rental. Okay, so that arrangement is liable to GST, is what this clarification says. So taxability of tenancy right in residential dwelling is exempt, but surrendering that right is not liable to exemption, so it will be liable to GST. Clear? Till here, are we clear? Since Schedule 3 gives some other explanations, we will come back to that. But what happens in case of various scenarios? But we will understand Schedule 3 before that. What is the difference between in the course of business and furtherance of business? In the course of business means during running the business, and furtherance of business means apart from the business. So if you have to do a business, before the business comes in, you may have to incur incorporation charges. You have to run around, find a lawyer, do a feasibility test. So this is all in furtherance of business, not directly for the business, but it is in furtherance of business. So that these things, what you do beyond the business, but not directly related, indirectly related. That means furtherance of business. Furtherance means anything extra business के अलावा जो business के लिए करते हो आप. That is called as furtherance of business. ठीक है. We'll take a break of 10 minutes here and we'll come back at 4:55. Thank you. Okay. So we have completed our discussion on Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. Now Schedule 3. What does Schedule 3 say? That what is non-supplies? That is, which is not a supply. What is not a supply? What is not a supply will be those things which is given in Schedule 3. Now, what does Schedule 3 says? Apart from Schedule 3, first we have to understand is there could be other ways of non-supplies, which will be through a notification or through a clarification. Now, Schedule 3 is one aspect of non-supplies, but there can be no supplies through notification or a clarification also. First, we'll go through Schedule 3. Schedule 3 says any service from a employee to employer. What services? What is the consideration for services from employee to employer? Salary, correct? So any salary is not liable to GST because it is covered under Schedule 3. Okay. Then second is any activity by a court or tribunal. So any activity by a court or tribunal when we pay court fees. Any activity which is done by the court or tribunal is again under Schedule 3, not liable to GST. Then any functions which is performed by a MP or MLA is also not liable to GST. Then any funeral, burial or crematorium, okay, at the death bed, whatever services are done, the funeral services, burial, crematorium, all of that is not liable. Then sale of land subject to Schedule 2 5B of building, which means that only land which is an immobile property is not liable to GST, but construction of a building will be liable to GST. So sale of land, then they say subject to Schedule 2, because in Schedule 2, construction of a building, we just now discussed that it is liable to service. It is a classified as service. So construction of a building is liable as service, but sale of the land or sale of a land on which the building is already constructed, because Schedule 2 5B says a building which is under construction. But once it is constructed, then it will not be liable because it will become a equivalent to a land. So sale of land subject to Schedule 2 5B, which is building when it is in construction, it is liable to GST as service, but sale of land is not liable to GST. Then actionable claims other than the specified actionable claims. I said, that actionable claims, we know it's a full universe. Now, out of universe, you have picked up some stars, right? जैसे आउट ऑफ द गैलेक्सी हमारे सिर्फ 9 प्लैनेट्स है, बाकी भी है ना गैलेक्सी में, वैसे ही एक्शनेबल क्लेम्स एक बड़ा डेफिनेशन हो गया। उसके अंदर सिर्फ स्पेसिफाइड एक्शनेबल क्लेम्स लायबल है, बाकी सब एक्शनेबल क्लेम्स शेड्यूल 3 में नॉन सप्लाई है, उसके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगेगी। स्पेसिफाइड एक्शनेबल क्लेम ऑफ बेटिंग, जो स्पेसिफाइड एक्शनेबल क्लेम है जिसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगेगा, दैट इज ओनली 6: बेटिंग, गैम्बलिंग, लॉटरी, casinos, horse racing, and online money gaming. There's a distinction between online gaming and online money gaming. This talks only of online money gaming. दूसरे online gaming is again not covered here. Okay. These are the 6 activities which are covered under Schedule 3, which is not liable to GST. So that is on Schedule 3. Then, okay, there's a query here. So gaming and lottery not liable to GST. No, gaming and lottery are liable to GST. What we have discussed here is They are not actionable claim for the purpose of GST. Actionable claims other than specified actionable claim. When they say other than, which means these things are liable to GST. Clear? है? Apart from this six, because these six are also actionable claim. इनके अलावा जो भी एक्शनेबल क्लेम है वो जीएसटी के लिए लायबल नहीं है. क्लियर? Which actionable claims not comes under GST? Insurance claims. If you are having an insurance policy and upon the having of an event, you're claiming that insurance money. So that is a actionable claim. You have given a loan to somebody, you're recovering from that. That is actionable claim. So all such activities, which is so very huge, such actionable claims will not come under GST. Online money game and online gaming difference. Online money game is that you're putting some money and earning it. That is called as online money gaming. But online gaming is could be such that there is no money involvement. You're just playing a game. That is online gaming. But where money is to be invested, you have to put a pool money. Okay. That is called as online money gaming. So that is first kind of thing which is not liable to GST. Second kind of thing which is not liable to GST could be through notifications. So there could be various notifications which can say that what is liable to GST and what is not. So through this notification, they've said any panchayat and municipality functions is not liable to GST. Okay, municipality or panchayat के जो भी functions रहते हैं, that is not liable to GST. Then comes next notification, which is alcoholic liquor license. What does this mean? On alcoholic liquor for human consumption, is GST payable or no? The reason why panchayat and municipality, because they are all sovereign functions of the government functions. That's why they are outside the GST. Yeah, if a game is there in which you pay something money to be paid, so then that is a service because Ishan, there what happens is you're buying some subscription. But online money gaming is where you put the risk of your money and you pool it and you earn it. So online money game is different, and the money what you pay for add-ons or to increase the subscription to get the coins, that is different. Okay, when you play with the money, that is online money gaming. When you pay money to buy some coins, that is not online money gaming. That is simple online gaming itself. Why there's a difference? Because of online money gaming, the GST rate is 28%. But on online gaming, any money you pay to buy coins or tokens, that the rate will be still just 18%. Okay. So yes, we know that alcoholic liquor for human consumption is not liable to GST. But then to get the right to sell this alcoholic liquor, you have to get by a license because government gives auction and through that you have to buy this license. So on this alcoholic liquor license, the government used to collect alcoholic liquor license and GST authorities went and said that, see, boss, alcoholic liquor for human consumption is not liable to GST, but you are getting a license for alcoholic liquor, so you have to pay GST. That's when this notification came and said, clarified that no, liquor will not be liable to GST, and this alcoholic liquor license also will not be liable to GST. Then Schedule 3, notification and clarifications. Through clarifications also, it will be treated as a non-supply. there are two clarification. One is interstate movement of conveyance between distinct person. We know what's a distinct person. Now, if there is any interstate movement, IS here means interstate. So if you are a bus company, your bus is moving from state A, from Karnataka to Tamil Nadu. So there is a movement. Will you call this movement as a supply? The clarification is saying that no, because the mode of movement, because you are having passengers, that's why you're moving your conveyance. Conveyance means any kind of vehicle, right? You're moving any kind of vehicle from one place to another place, and it will be in that other branch office. So that movement will not be liable to GST because that's only a medium through which the passengers are getting transferred. Or if it's a goods transport agency, transportation will happen through a lorry. So that movement of lorry from one city to another city, from one branch to another branch, will not be liable to GST unless you sell it. You are not selling it, you're only using it as a mode of conveyance. So there is no GST on that. Similarly, interstate movement of rigs, tools, spares, and goods on vehicles, wherein these things are available on the vehicles for maintenance purposes. That also will not be liable to GST. What is conveyance? Conveyance is any vehicle or anything which you use for transportation. Rigs are kind of spare parts which they use in the conveyance. Okay, so clarification is very clear that any conveyance and any rigs, tools and spare and goods on wheels will also not be liable to GST. Well, will courier service be subject to GST? Yes, because what is happening is you are using the service of a courier agency to transport the envelope, what you're giving from one state to another state. So it's a service. So courier service is liable to GST. But that courier service company using a vehicle to take all the couriers from your city and sending it to another city. So that vehicle movement is liable to GST or no is the question. Okay. So it is not liable to GST because that conveyance is being used for transportation of that goods only. Okay. Mosam Kumari Singh, can you explain quiz number 4? Okay. We'll go to quiz number 4. Moshami Kumari, can you help me with the page number? 0.63. Okay, great. Which of the following activities are considered neither as supply of goods nor supply of services? Interstate movement of trucks between distinct persons for repairs and maintenance, grant of mining rights by the government, services provided by the employer to the employee, and lottery. What is the correct answer according to you? Lottery. Why lottery? Lottery is covered under the exclusion, right? So it cannot be lottery because lottery is liable to GST. That's why there is an exclusion from Schedule 3. And interstate movement of trucks between distinct persons for repairs and maintenance. We have this, that it is covered under Schedule 3. And services provided by the employer and employees also in Schedule 3. But A is covered through a circular and C is covered through Schedule 3 directly. B is liable because granting of mining rights by the government to business, this is nowhere there in Schedule 3 anywhere. So B will not be the correct answer. The correct answer, according to me, will be services provided by the, not employer to employee. Here also there's a trick because services provided, Schedule 3 says services provided by employee to employer. But here they have twisted it. They've said services provided by employer to employee. So this will be taxable. So I think the correct answer is A because interstate movement of any conveyance between distinct person for repairs and services. So this will be the correct answer. Clear? Because everything else is taxable. Lottery is taxable. Services provided by employer to employee is taxable. Granting of mining rights is taxable. But interstate movement of trucks for repairs and maintenance is the only thing which is not taxable. Right? What is the correct answer? What you get while you respond to this, you may be having it. A, right? Correct. So you have to be very careful because what happening is you may also feel that C is also a right answer. But when you read through it, you will see that services provided by an employer to employee. There's a limit, no? That services provided by employer to employee up to 50,000 rupees. Above that, it will be taxable. This we have covered under Schedule 1. Grant of mining rights nowhere covered, so it is taxable. Lottery is also taxable because it is exception to actionable claim. Clear? Okay. Can we proceed with the next aspect? That is, we have understood what is supply. Now, supply majorly can be of two types. One is called as a composite supply, another one is called as a mixed supply. But sir, relation of employee and employee does not attract GST. Relationship, no. I will bring you that slide so that I think this aspect is very important to clarify. What is not liable to GST? Employee to employer. So services provided by an employee to employer. Why is the employer paying salary to the employee? Because services are provided by employee to employer. But if services is provided by employer to employee, that is not covered here because Schedule 1 covers only one aspect in case of employment, employee to employer. Correct? But for services from employer to employee, it is exempted up to 50,000 rupees, which we have seen in Schedule 1. I'll show you that also. Supply between related persons or distinct person, provided that gifts not exceeding 50,000 in value in a financial year by an employer to employee shall not be treated as supply. So employer to employee, only up to 50,000 will be exempted. Apart from that, it will be taxable itself. Correct, Tanush. More than 50,000 is taxable. Sir, if rigs, spares, and tools are being transported with the help of another vehicle, then still it will not be taxable because the point says that rigs, spares, and tools for being transported. So it will all be exempted itself. It says interstate movement of rigs, tools, and spares, and all goods on wheels like cranes. Unless it is for furtherance of supply. That is, when you're selling these rigs, you're selling these tools, then GST will apply. But if such goods is only for the purpose of usage, then it will not be taxable. For repairs and spares, then it will not be taxable. So in that question, everything comes under supply of goods and services. But the question in this way, which of the following is exempt under GST? Not clear with your question, Danush. Taxable under GST or TDS? What aspect? 50,000 as gift. We are talking only of GST, not TDS, not income tax, anything. This is only talking about GST. So we are talking about GST only. So up to 50,000 is a limit under the GST law. But the question should be in this way. No, no, the question can get twisted. So you have to understand the question. Question is not correct. It is correct. Because what is exemption is different. What is not liable is different. Exemption comes through repair service. Not liable to GST comes through Schedule 3 circulars or notifications. Correct. अगर if there's a repair shop and he buys these parts, then उसके ऊपर GST लगेगा because he's buying it. So unless there is buying and selling, कि spare parts रखते हैं और transportation जैसे cranes वगैरह होते हैं कि cranes में आपको rigs, tools और spares की जरूरत पड़ती है because if you are to do some digging work, तो there you will use rigs. So if such rigs are used, उसके लिए आप GST charge करोगे when you provide the service. और सर्विस इनवॉइस पे आप चार्ज करोगे. That's why they've said this rigs, tools and spares and all goods on wheels like क्रेन के ऊपर जो भी goods हैं उसके ऊपर टैक्स नहीं लगेगा. Mean above 50,000 employer is supposed to charge GST on gift given to employee. Correct. Work cost, job work charges, yes. Then in that example, when the cranes are used for that usage could be hourly billing or labor charges are using of that crane for a specified duration. For that, value will be charged, and on that, it is a service. GST also will be charged on that. Okay. So we are deviating a lot. Now let's come back to our topic, which is on Schedule 1, 2, 3 is completed. Now I was talking that there could be two types of supply. One is called as composite supply and another one is called as mixed supply. What is a composite supply and what is a mixed supply? So we will understand today the definition of composite supply. So then understanding mixed supply in the next class would become easier. Composite supply is defined under the GST law. We'll see the definition, then we will understand this. Composite supply means a supply which is made by a taxable person to a recipient, right? Every supply will be made by a taxable person to a recipient. Here also it says so. A composite supply means a supply made by a taxable person to a recipient, and it comprises of two or more taxable supply of goods or services or both or any combination thereof. जब दो सप्लाई Okay. Composite supply means a supply made by a taxable person to a recipient. That is how you have to read the law. You read the act, then you go through the section. That's where the Board of Studies is beautifully arranged that relevant sections, relevant definitions are given so that you read the law first. Then you read the explanation. अगर आप law को समझ जाओगे, then your explanation will become easier. So always in every legal topic, could be income tax, could be company law, could be GST. Read the law first. Read what is there in the law. Then you read the explanation. In the understanding of the legal language is very clear, then explanation will be not required for you. So you have to get to the skill of learning the law and understanding it. क्योंकि आप law का words use भी कर सकते हो. Explanation could be by your own words, but legal words cannot be changed. So understand the legal words and use the legal words as much as possible. So definition of composite supply. Composite supply means a supply which is made by a taxable person to a recipient, and it comprises of two or more taxable supplies of goods, of services, or goods, or both, or could be any combination thereof, which are important, naturally bundled. Two or more taxable supplies which are naturally bundled and supplied in conjunction with each other. These are naturally bundled and supplied in conjunction with each other in the ordinary course of business. One of which is a principal supply. Which means what? If there are two supplies which is happening, okay, and both the supplies are happening together and they are naturally bundled supply. Matlab, you are not trying to make two supplies for any other purpose. They are naturally bundled and they are supplied in conjunction with each other. मतलब एक supply करते हो तो दूसरा भी साथ में करना ही पड़ेगा. That is called as in conjunction means together. Supplied in conjunction, supplied together. If I do not supply the second supply, the first supply will not be useful. That is the meaning of conjunction in the ordinary course of business. Then it is called as a composite supply, which means what? I have a supply. Along with this, there is another supply. Now, these two supplies are made together. Now, these two supplies are made together and they are naturally bundled. Not that I want to sell, so I'm adding it. I have to make it. Without the second supply, first supply will be not useful. Okay. They are naturally bundled and supplied in conjunction with each other. They are supplied together in the ordinary course of business, and one of which is a principal supply. So I just spoke about some example a couple of minutes back. Can you recollect that example so that we can understand this? Anybody? Software? No. Del Credar agent? No. Yeah, in Del Credar agent, we have used this. In buy one, get one also, we have used this. Yes. So a good example to understand this is, yes, a mobile charger. When you buy a mobile, along with it, there is a charger also. And there at least the value is same. But you take an example of a air conditioner. You buy a air conditioner. The supplier itself has to do the installation because he knows the technicalities. Is he supplying forcefully? No, he's not supplying it forcefully. So it is in conjunction with each other in the ordinary course of business that generally our notion is the person from whom I'm buying the air conditioner, from him only I will do the installation so that that company's technicalities, that company's fittings, that company's spare parts, he will have it. So that is the reason the supplier from whom I'm buying the air conditioner, from him itself, I will buy the installation also. So there are two supplies. One is supply of goods, which is an air conditioner, and installation is a service. So that's why it says comprising of two or more taxable supplies of goods or services or both. Not necessary. The principal supply and ancillary supply should both be goods or both should be services. One can be goods, one can be service. Air conditioner is a goods, installation is a service, right? And they are naturally bundled because whenever we buy, we want the installation also. And they are supplied in conjunction with each other. In the ordinary course of business, one of which is a principal supply. Which is the principal supply? The principal supply is the air conditioner itself. Okay. So what will happen once you say composite supply? GST will be charged on both. Say air conditioner is 50,000 rupees, installation is 5,000 rupees. So 55,000 will be the total value. GST, what you will charge? Composite supply says that in a composite supply, the GST rate of the principal supply will apply on the whole package. So say air conditioner is at 12%, installation charges normally other installation is at 18%. So on this air conditioner plus installation, how much will be the GST rate? 12%. Correct. Because whatever is the GST rate of the main supply, that will apply to the ancillary also. If GST is 12%, the installation is a composite supply. So GST will be charged at 12% on the installation plus air conditioner. Clear? Dhanush, in that example of buy one, get one tax is charged. Correct, one tax is charged because it's a composite supply. So whatever is the rate on the principal supply, that will apply. Clear? Any doubts? We will take some examples. We will also go and understand how do you decide if it's a composite supplier. Separate charges charged? Yeah. If separate charges is charged, then also it's a composite supply. If one value is charged, still it can be composite supply. So the criteria that it should be only one value is not necessary. It could be one price or it could be two separate price. Still, it will be a composite supply. RO plant and annual maintenance. Correct. That's also a good example. When you buy a air filter or a air purifier or water purifier, you will get a AMC also. And for that AMC, they will charge. So again, it's a composite supply. So many examples, Moshmi: air conditioner, water purifier, mobile with charger. These are all the examples for composite supply. Clear? Okay. So I would like Ms. Shefali madam to please continue the session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Madam.
for this insightful session. I think we have covered most of the portion of supply chapter today, na?
Yes, madam. Only composite and mixed supply we may have to deal in detail, but we have completed the major
And
portion.
basic idea students have already got about that.
Yes.
Okay. So what I would be taking today is, since sir has covered this portion quite in detail, so I would be taking few questions for you, and that will give you an idea that how much you have understood this whole topic. In fact, all of you would have gone through the class, attentively, and everything has been discussed in the class in detail. So now we'll take some questions, and that will help us in further. It will be a kind of revision also, and it will be a kind of assessment also, that how much we have learned during the class. So we'll start with without wasting any further time, we'll start with the questions. In fact, I would be taking very basic question in first 2, 3 questions will be very basic questions, not particularly related to supply. They will be related to the type of tax which will be levied. And the first question, in fact, I would like all of you to reply in chat the answers to the questions and try to participate as much as possible, so that I can also get to know that all of you are understanding the concept, how much, even if you are not aware of the answer, I would request you to answer the question. Whatever you feel, applying your logic, that answer should be, give some answer in the chat box. Let us start with the first question. So first question, as I said initially, first 3, 4 questions will not be particularly related to supply, but they will be basic concept related questions. Mr. Champak has made an interstate supply of goods from Madhya Pradesh to Lakshadweep. Tax to be charged in this case, you have to tell. Though everything is known, many of you will find this question very, very easy, but still I want the answers from all of you. Thank you, Mosam. Okay. Anubhav has given the answer. Mahalakshmi, Ishan, Vishal. Vishal is saying yes. Okay. Sunil has given the answer. Prem, Divya, Rajveer. Okay. No, I'm asking you which tax has to be levied. The tax to be charged. Okay. Those who are saying yes, they are assuming that question is whether the tax can be levied in this case or not. Tax can be levied. I'm asking which type of tax will be levied. You know, there are 3 types of taxes. CGST, in fact, not 3, either CGST plus SGST or CGST plus UTGST, and another is IGST. So which tax would be levied? Now, those who are saying CGST and SGST, can you give me the reason why you are mentioning CGST and SGST? Because see, in fact, maximum students have mentioned as IGST, but still I have got few answers as CGST plus SGST and CGST plus UTGST. Can anybody who is saying CGST plus SGST give me the reason that why CGST plus SGST or UTGST is being levied here? Any reasoning? Okay, I'm waiting for your answers. In the meantime, I will explain you why, what is the correct answer and what is the reason. See, Champak has made an interstate supply. Okay. Now, whenever we make an interstate supply, either we make it, okay, Neeraj is saying it is a UT with legislature. Lakshadweep is not a UT with legislature, Neeraj. They are, it is a proper union territory. But since the type of transaction which is being undertaken here is an interstate supply, okay? For an interstate supply, the tax which will be charged is IGST. Yeah, Sunil is giving the correct answer. That transaction is between between 2 states, or it is a interstate transaction. Therefore, IGST will be charged. Okay. So the reason behind this particular tax to be levied is that it is an interstate transaction. In case of interstate transaction, IGST would be levied. Before moving further to other questions, just let me give you a brief idea that how the tax is to be levied. Although I know most of you know this concept, but those who have answered it incorrectly, for them I am telling. And please let me know in the chat box whether you are comfortable in Hindi or in English. Because if some students are not comfortable with Hindi, then I will continue with English in that case. Otherwise, I will keep on switching between Hindi and English. Okay. Charan Sai is saying English. So those who feel that English, they want it to be in English, for them, I would say, in case I, explain anything in Hindi, I would definitely cover it in English. थोड़ा सा हिंदी में better connect होता है for the people who are Hindi speaking persons. लेकिन Okay, those who are comfortable in English, I will definitely cover everything in English. Don't worry, you will not miss out anything if I speak in Hindi about anything. Yeah, Lakshadweep is a union territory without legislature. Plus, second thing is that even if it had been a UT or union territory with legislature, in case of interstate transaction, without seeing anything, we have to apply IGST. The tax which would be levied in case of interstate transaction would be an IGST. In case of intra-state transaction, that means the transaction where once the supply location of supplier and place of supply both are in the same state. In that case, we have to see whether that state is a, if it is a state, then it will be CGST plus SGST. If it is a union territory, that means the transaction is taking place within a union territory. Location of supplier is also in that union territory, and the place of supply is also in that union territory. Regarding the location of supplier and place of supply, details you will be doing in place of supply. But in general terms and simple terms, if I say that both the supplier and supply is taking place in the same state, then if it is a union territory, if it is taking place, it is in a union territory, then CGST plus UTGST, यानी central state central sorry central goods and services tax and state UT or union territory goods and services tax would be levied in case it's a union territory without legislature. But if it's a union territory with legislature like Delhi, Puducherry, then in that case it would be CGST plus SGST, state goods and services tax plus central goods and services tax. So in case of a union territory with legislature, it is as good as a state for the, or it comes under the definition of state only for the purpose of levying GST. And in that case, CGST plus SGST would be levied if it is a union territory with legislature. If it is a union territory without legislature, then UTGST would be levied along with CGST. But in case of intrastate transaction, now when we come to an interstate transaction, in case of interstate transaction, whether it is a state, it is a union territory, it is a union territory with legislature, it does not matter to us. The tax that would be levied would be an IGST. Hope that is clear to you all. Now we'll come to the next question. So here IGST would be levied. Now next question is, Mr. Champak has made, oh, Mausam, you also got this point now. Hope all of you are clear with this point. Now we'll come to other questions and see, and let's see that how many of you now answer correctly. Okay. Just a minute. Mr. Champak has made an interstate supply of, okay, sorry, this is the previous question. It has made an intrastate supply of goods within Puducherry. Tax to be charged in this case. We have just discussed everything in detail. Now tell me which tax would be charged in this case. Okay. So I've got answer from Anubhav, Ishan, Divya, Anup Kumar, Aman, Prem, Neeraj. Mausam is saying 3 types of taxes. So out of these 3, which 2 are being levied, Mausam? Please choose and tell me. Janvi is also saying, giving the answer. Mahalakshmi, Shailja, Soumya, Mehak. In fact, I want everybody to answer. We have around 45 students in Zoom. All of you should answer. Sunil has also answered. Divya is saying it is union territory with their own legislature. Very good, Divya. So what type of tax would be levied in this case? Then Muzi, how is it IGST? Tell me, how are you levying IGST on this? So I have got mixed answers. Majority of answers are CGST plus SGST, but still I have got some answers as CGST plus UTGST. Now, those who are saying CGST plus UTGST, you need to appreciate that Puducherry is a union territory with legislature. So since it has its own legislature, it is treated as a state under GST law, say as similar as Delhi. Delhi is also treated as a state under GST law for the purpose of levying GST. And in this case, the tax that would be levied is CGST plus SGST because Puducherry has its own legislature. So it is not a union territory for the purpose of GST. It is a state. Tax that would be levied will be CGST plus SGST. So here UTGST cannot be levied. It should be a union territory without state legislature. I am again repeating. Okay. Let's see the next question. Now here I am expecting now everybody would answer correctly. Mr. Champak has made an intrastate supply of goods within Ladakh. Now, before you answer, let me make it clear that Ladakh is a union territory without legislature. Tax to be charged in this case. Now everybody would answer correctly. So I'm getting answers very quickly. Everybody is answering. And now everybody's answer is correct. I'm happy to see that you have understood the concept now. So Neeraj, Aman, Bhumika, Rajveer, Vishal, Shifa, Mahalakshmi, everybody has answered correctly. Aman, Soumya, Sunil, Tanmozi. Now, Mosam, why are you answering IGST? In this case, it is an intrastate supply. Nisha has also answered correctly. Yes, UTGST. So CGST plus UTGST will be charged. It's okay, Mosam. It can be, it's possible for you to, sometimes there can be a typo error also. So only in case of interstate transaction, IGST would be charged. Otherwise, we have to see whether it is a union territory, it is a state. And in state, we include union territory with legislature. Now this concept is clear to everyone, I hope. So it will be CGST plus UTGST. Okay, then Muzi has also got the correct answer. Now, very simple question. Mr. Champak has made an intrastate supply of goods within Uttar Pradesh. Tax to be charged in this case. Bhumika is saying union territory with legislation is follow its specific GST. Bhumika, I didn't get your query. Can you please rephrase it? What you want to exactly ask me? Okay, now everybody is answering. Rajveer has answered. Aman, Mahalakshmi, Mausam, Neeraj, Divya, Rishi, Charan, Soumya, Vishal, Prem, Dhanush. Everybody has answered correctly. Sunil, Janvi, Soumya, Nisha, Shelja, and Mozi, Anoop, then Sneha, Mehak, Vaishnavi, Hina, Shifa, Bhumika. Everybody has answered correctly that here CGST and SGST would be charged. Okay. Now this was the simplest concept which we have discussed. Now we will discuss something which is related to your discussion in the chapter of supply. You had two very insightful classes where everything has been discussed by sir in detail. And you have asked your queries also. I have seen that all of you have been very interactive and very participative during the class. Good. I have already started getting answers of the question which is there on your screen. So now my questions will be related to the chapter of supply. So in this way, sir, though has already, he keeps on revising in between or keeps on asking you the questions regarding the concept which is being discussed. But here all the questions will be at one place regarding whatever you have done in the chapter of supply till now. Few questions I would ask and you will definitely learn something new also and you will revise also. Okay. So yes. So answer, I will just read out the question, though I have already started getting answers for this. Whether definition of supply is an inclusive definition or an exhaustive definition. So, sorry. In fact, I would like to correct here. It's not exhaustive, it's exclusive definition, or you can say it's not either. It's not exhaustive. Inclusive definition is actually exhaustive because it includes whatever you know about a particular thing and whatever is given in the definition. Everything is included in the inclusive definition. So everybody has answered it correctly that yes, it is an inclusive definition. This is a very important point which we should remember about the definition of supply, that it is an inclusive definition. It does not exactly specify that what is supply, but it tells you that what is included in the definition of supply. Now, whatever you know about what is supply is also supply, and whatever the definition tells you that yes, this is what supply is, that will also be included in the definition of supply. So this was not, however, expected to be the way supply should have been defined under GST law, but they have given the inclusive definition, although it should have been the clear-cut definition of the supply. Okay, now we come to the next question. Now give three parameters of supply. That in order to be an activity or transaction, to be any activity or transaction, if we want to categorize it into supply, then what should be the what should be the, basic parameters which should be present? So when can we say that an activity or transaction is supply under GST? So Soumya has answered goods and services. Mahalakshmi, in course of business, consideration. Then Rajveer is saying goods and services, consideration in course of furtherance of business. Very good, Rajveer. Consideration, Soumya has added consideration to her earlier answer. And okay, forms of supply, consideration in course of furtherance of business. In fact, forms of supply is contained in the definition. This is what a supply is. But the parameters, that means in order to classify any activity as supply, prerequisites, we can say, the essentials for categorizing any transaction or any activity as supply. What are the parameters? So Mehak has also answered correctly. Shalja, then Neeraj has answered one criteria. Sneha, forms of supply is okay. Forms of supply means the whatever forms of supply, illustrative forms, 8 illustrative forms of supply is given in the definition. But that tells that these are also, this type of activities are also considered as supply. But if we want to that, so those activities are supply. But if we want to identify that whether a given activity is supply or not, then what are the basic criteria? So many of you have answered correctly. In fact, Nisha has also given the correct answer. Mosam, I'm asking about the parameters of supply. Prem has given the correct answer. Anubhav, Aman, then Neeraj, Sunil, Ishan, and then Sunil, Soumya. Charan is saying consideration quid pro quo. Yeah, consideration itself means quid pro quo should be there. Then we have Anubhav, because some of you are still not getting what exactly I'm asking, but when I tell you the answer, you will get to know. Already I have discussed in some of the answers that what is, yeah, goods and services excluding money and services, Jayendra, you're right. So now let's see the answer. Dhanush and Sunil have also answered correctly. Sometimes without consideration, Sunil is saying, yeah, Sunil, that is true. That we'll also see during the discussion. So first is the supply should be a supply of goods or services or both. Now, money and securities are excluded both in goods as well as in services. That is one point. But the basic thing which is required is goods or services. Now, Mosam, you got it right. That's what I was actually asking. Second is consideration, and third one is business. So whenever we have to check, we have an activity and we want to know whether it is a supply or not, then we have to apply 3 tests on it. First and the foremost condition, that is the underlying condition, and that says it should be a good or a service, or both can be there. So it should be supply of both goods and services, or supply of goods or supply of services. For that, we have to see the definition of goods and services. Second is consideration. So if consideration is not present, then you cannot term that activity to be supply. So consideration is very important. It should be goods or services. That is also very important. In business test, every activity has to pass the business test to qualify as supply. Okay. Now these are the 3 parameters. Now we come to the next point. Now, what is the exception to business test? First, we'll see the exception to the business test, that even if a transaction and activity is not in course or furtherance of business, still you can classify it as supply, or you can consider it will amount to supply. Now, what is that particular transaction? So, exception to the business test. I hope you got the question, that even if an activity or transaction or a supply is not in course or furtherance of business, we will still consider it to be in the it will still consider it to be a supply under GST. Okay. Okay, I have started getting answers from Ishan, then Prem, Aman. Aman, one point you have added to this particular point, that makes it without consideration. Okay, import, but without consideration, without business test qualifying. Then do you want to say that it is it will qualify as supply? Please check your answer, Aman. Netflix subscription, for example. Okay, Anubhav has given an example. Yes, Aman. On Netflix import of services. Yeah, it is right. Import of service for personal use. Okay. And supply, import. Soumya is also saying Netflix. I think you have been given an example during the class. That is why everybody is giving the example of Netflix. Mehak is also saying import of services for consideration. Yes. So a comparatively lesser number of answers here, but I am expecting all of you to answer this point. Import of service for consideration. Okay, Aman, you have, I think by mistake you have written this. Import of services, but for consideration, because we are saying that only business test is not present, or it is an exception to the business test. So it is not qualifying the business test. It is not in course or furtherance of business. So if you are importing services for consideration for personal use, that means you are not importing the services for business purposes, then also, but consideration should be charged, because we are saying two things, at least one of the two things should be present: supply of goods and services. That is the underlying principle. But after that, business test and consideration test has to be passed or qualified. So in this case, business test is not, business is element is not present, but the consideration should definitely be there. And so it is, even if it is for personal purpose, then also it will qualify as supply. Yes, import of services. Now, all of you have started answering correctly. Anubhav, import of service for a consideration, but not for furtherance of business. Yes, Anubhav. Mausam has also answered correctly, import of services for own uses. Perfect. So let's move to the next question. Now, exception to consideration. You don't have to give examples. You just have to tell me, where do we actually have to go if consideration is not present? That consideration test, an activity or transaction is not qualifying. Then where do we have to go? Or which is the particular portion of the CGST Act? Where do we have to look for the transactions which will qualify even if consideration is not there? So I have got answers like donation, Schedule 3. Ishan has answered correctly. I'm expecting more answers. So even if consideration is not there, an activity or transaction can still be termed as supply, or it can still qualify as supply. Where in the CGST Act, which is the portion where it has been, or part of CGST Act, where do we get these transactions or activities where these transactions are actually listed that these transactions will qualify as supply even if they are not, no consideration is charged for them, or they are carried out without consideration. Okay, trust and this charity is correct, that you are doing some charity, you are doing some free of cost activity. But where do we get these transactions? So I'm getting correct answers also. Ishan has answered correctly. Then Prem has also answered correctly. Shifa is right. Sunil has given one of such transactions where we take the where you can say that yes, even if consideration is not charged, it is a supply. Yeah, Soumya, you are right. Then, Mosam, you have given an example, but you have to exactly tell that this is the, where do we find that? Disposal of acid, all these are examples. Dhanush is right. Then, Jayendra is also right. Soumya has also given an example. Then, Mehek, you're right. So, correct answer is Schedule 1. We get the transactions or activities which are termed as supply even if consideration is not there. So one test is not being passed, though it should be in course or furtherance of business. That is for sure that yes, one test is not being expected, or one aspect we have exempted, that okay, consideration is not there, then also we'll take it as supply, but it should be in course or furtherance of business. That is the underlying assumption, or that is the underlying principle which has to be followed. Okay. So now all of you must have got that I'm talking about Schedule 1. Now we'll take some of the questions for Schedule 1 now. Mosam is saying, I forgot. Okay, you forgot the actually which schedule it was. That is why you were giving example. Yes, somebody has quoted schedule 3 also, maybe because you might have forgotten that which schedule I am talking about. But that's not a problem. Mainly, you should know the exact nature of the activities which are covered in schedule 1. So if I ask you this question the other way around, that in which case schedule 1 is resorted to, or which parameter of supply is absent in schedule 1, yes. So now I'm getting a lot of answers. So because we have just discussed, so it is consideration. So if consideration is not there, we have to go to schedule 1. Very good. All of you are answering correctly. Aman, Anubhav, Rajveer, Prem, Nisha, Ishan, Mehak, Mausam, Soumya, Mahalakshmi, Shailja, Bhumika, everybody. So this is actually Shekhar Enterprises donated computers to an NGO. It had taken input tax credit on said computers. Now you have to tell me whether this transaction qualify as supply or does not qualify as supply. And if it does not qualify as supply, I need a small reason why. So it has donated computers to an NGO and it has taken ITC on said computers. Those who are writing not a supply, just very precisely give me an answer that why it is not a supply. Okay. So Aman has answered correctly. Then Charan has given a reason also. But Charan, your reason which you are saying here, no consideration is there. You are saying donation with an obligation. But here, actually, we have donated the computers. We have not taken any obligation from him. We have not asked him that you have to, somewhere type our name. You have to put our name on some of the walls or some at some place in NGO. No such thing is mentioned in this question. So that consideration point which you are trying to identify, that is not there. Okay, Divya has answered correctly. Sneha, then Prem, Sunil. Yeah, all of you have answered that it is because ITC has been availed. Janvi has answered correctly. Bhumika. Uh, hmm, hmm. Those of you, Nisha has also answered correctly. In fact, Divya, Rajveer, mm, Soumya, your answer is not. I'm not able to get what you are actually trying to answer. You're saying क्योंकि donation किया है, but whether you want to say that it is a supply or you want to say it is not a supply. When you are donating computers to an NGO, these computers you have taken ITC also. So this is a course or furtherance of business. You are doing this activity in course or furtherance of business. We do donation in course or furtherance of business. That test you cannot say that it is not there. But ITC should be reversed, Jayendra is saying. It does not qualify because it is not in. Many students are saying it is not in course or furtherance of business. No, it is in course or furtherance of business because these activities we are taking in the during the because that does not any activity which we are taking for a business purpose. It does not mean that it should be a recurring activity or it should be a regular business activity. Whatever you are doing as your sale transaction or supply transaction, that is only business. Whatever you do in course or furtherance of business is a business transaction. It is a supply because ITC has also been taken on the same and consideration is not there. So if we are donating computers, we cannot say quid pro quo is there. Like some students have mentioned that the it has been given to the NGO and something we are getting in return. So consideration is there. That should have been mentioned in the question specifically that in return we are getting something. Then in that case, that can be considered as consideration in kind. It can come in CSR activity. CSR, I'm not sure whether activity in kind is also included in CSR. That I'm not sure. But yes, it is a transaction in course or further. It is normal business transaction. Okay. So it will be considered as supply. ITC has also been taken on the same para 1 of schedule 1, permanent transfer or disposal of business assets where ITC has been taken on these business assets. And these business assets can be the capital goods or it can be the current assets, any kind of assets which you are transferring permanently. There should be permanent transfer of those business assets. Condition is that ITC should have been taken. Those capital goods where ITC is blocked or those goods on which ITC is blocked, then in that case, they will not come in para 1 because you have not taken ITC on them. Okay. Now let us come to the second transaction. Shekhar Enterprises sold computers to a scrap dealer for rupees 10,000. It had not taken ITC or input tax credit on said computers. Now what will be your answer? Anubhav has immediately answered. Anubhav, give me the reason for your answer also. Aman has answered correctly. Rajveer, give the answer. Those who are saying not a supply, again, I want a small reason why it is not a supply. Okay. So Janvi and Shifa are also saying not a supply. So please give me a small reason why not a supply. Divya saying supply. Okay. So I'm not telling the answer. I'm waiting for other answers. Uh, if I'm selling computers to a scrap dealer, I'm selling any scrap. That is in course of furtherance of business. Any person who is carrying on business, he will sell the scrap also. Okay. Charan has answered it correctly. He has actually identified the right point. Anubhav is saying ITC has not been taken. Mausam is saying supply but confusion. Okay, you have some confusion. Now that confusion is what I'm going to remove. Soumya is saying supply, Aman saying it's supply. And then I have the Aman is saying as consideration is there or available. Mehak is saying, okay, I'm not giving the correct answer. Actually, I'm trying to, first of all, tell where you are actually going wrong. So Bhumika is, no, it has not taken ITC Bhumika. So Soumya is saying permanent disposal, so supply. But permanent disposal. So Soumya, you are actually invoking para 1 of schedule 1 here. That is what I am supposing. Janvi is saying it is not a supply as ITC is not availed. Okay. Now let us see what is the correct answer and then I will tell you the reason. Correct answer is it is a supply. Now why it is a supply? This point which confused most of you that it has not taken ITC on said computers. Okay. Now this point does not matter here because here consideration is being charged, which I'm very happy to see that many of you identified that point. Yeah, Divya is also right. We are selling for some amount. So since consideration is there, so we need not go to schedule 1 at all. That is why whether ITC has been taken on the said goods or not, that does not matter at all. What matters is consideration is there and business test is also qualified. So it is a normal supply. So we need not see the ITC point here at all. What we have to see is consideration is there and it will not go to schedule 1. Okay. I hope now those who were saying that it is not a supply would have got the answer. We have to see everything. When we are in the flow of schedule 1, that does not mean every transaction will be covered in schedule 1 only. That is the catch we have to see. Okay. Okay. Now let us see the next question. Shekhar Enterprises gifted his employee, Mr. Sukhbir, a computer worth rupees 40,000 in September and a mobile phone worth rupees 20,000 in October in the current financial year. Now tell me whether it is a supply or not. You have read all the paras of Schedule 1 and I want answers a bit quick now because we have already been ahead of time, schedule time, so we don't want to exceed the class too much. Quickly give me your answers. Okay, so Divya is saying supply, then Rajveer, Prem, Nisha is saying not a supply, then Shifa is saying supply, Janvi, Rishi, and all of you are saying supply. Anubhav is saying mobile phone will be under supply. So Anubhav, you have to tell about the computer also. I want, so any of you feel that either of these two will be taxed, that also should be mentioned in the answer, that whether only computer will, that only mobile phone will be taxed or computer will also be taxed. That is what I want the answer. Then Bhumika is saying yes, because it exceeds 50,000. Then Mehek also has the same answer. Then not a supply since it is not exceeding 50,000. Soumya is saying not a supply. Soumya, one, okay. So that means some students are of the view that since computer and mobile phone, each of them is less than 50,000, so both of them are not qualifying as supply because amount in individual amount is less than 50,000. That is what I feel that you want to mention. But those who are saying yes, like Ishan, Soumya, Jaindra, then Soumya and Jayendra, but Jayendra is saying that supply will be only of rupees 10,000. Now, this is also one of the points. Now, you have to, I want answer for this also. When we are saying supply, whether supply will be of rupees 60,000 40,000, 20,000 or 10,000? We have got four answers. The amount of supply, it will be, we'll take the value to be this only, because para 1 we have separate rules for computing the value, but I'm taking, suppose this is the open market value or whatever value as per the rules which is there. So for computers the value is 40,000, for mobile phone it is 20,000. So what would be the taxable amount, or what would be the value of supply? Will it be 40,000, 20,000, 60,000 or 10,000? Shalini is saying 10,000. Mausam is saying gifted amount is 50,000. Then Dhanush is saying not taxable at all. Rajveer is saying mobile will be taxed and computer will not be taxed. Anubhav is saying 50,000 limit is crossed with mobile phone supply, so mobile phone will be taxed. Mausam is saying not exceeding 50,000. Then because Mausam feels that both the gifts are separate gifts, and they are the value of both the gifts is less than 50,000, so both of them will not be taxed. And Rishi says after 40,000 both shall be charged. So as per Rishi 20,000 will be taxed. Then Dhanush is saying both are of 2 financial years. No, it is of the same financial year, Dhanush. Both pertain to same financial year. Janvi also says 10,000, 10,000. So okay. Now I have got few correct answers. Prem, Rishi, Ishan. Then Prem, Rishi and Ishan have answered it correctly. I have given you four amounts: 40,000, 20,000, 60,000, and then 10,000. Correct answer is, and in fact, one option was also there that not taxable at all. So that was the fifth option which we had. In fact, majority of answers say 10,000. Some of them who say not a supply, they say as per them, both of the goods are less, the value of both the goods is less than 50,000, so none of them will be taxable. So what should be the correct answer? I will still give you 30 seconds, only 30 seconds to give me the correct answer. We have 5 options now. In fact, instead of 4, we have 5 options. Okay, somebody is saying, Divya, you are right in your answer, but I will tell the final answer after some time. Jayendra is also right. Bhumika, right. Anubhav, you are right. Okay, so now let's see the answer. Those who have answered. So somebody is saying 40,000. After 40,000, everything is taxable. That means only mobile phone will be taxed. That is one of the answers. Second answer is 10,000. That means after 50,000, because till 50,000, it is not a supply. After 50,000, 10,000 will be taxed. Okay. Now, and those who are saying it is not a supply, they are saying it is one of the product is of 40,000, another product is of 20,000. Both of them are less than 50,000, so they are not supply at all. First of all, the answer is it is a supply. Why is it is a supply? Because we say that the gift to an employee should be up to 50,000 in a financial year. If it is not exceeding 50,000 in a financial year, then that will not be considered as supply. Employee is a related person. All of you have understood that point. So no doubt about that. Nobody mentioned this point that it is not a related person. It is a related person. Para 2 of Schedule 1. Any supply of goods or services to a related person in course or furtherance of business is considered as supply, even if no consideration is charged. But there is a proviso which says that if you are giving it to employee, if you are giving a gift to an employee, then that will not be considered as supply if the value does not exceed rupees 50,000. Now here the value is exceeding rupees 50,000. Why? Because you have to take both the goods which are there given in a year. He has been gifted 40,000 plus 20,000 in the financial year. So that makes it 60,000. Now the another question which comes is that whether we will be taxing entire 60,000 or the amount exceeding 50,000, whatever is in excess of 50,000. No, we will be taxing the entire amount, because proviso says the exemption or this proviso applies only when the total value is up to 50,000. Now, as the moment the value exceeds 50,000, that means we have 50,000 1 rupees value as the value of gift, then it becomes a supply. So in our case, it is 60,000. That makes it a supply, and the entire value will become taxable, or entire value will become and will come under the purview of supply. Then taxability is another thing we have to see. I just wished I wanted the value because I wanted you to know the concept of supply, that the entire value will be taxed if all other conditions are satisfied of the taxability. For that, we have to go to charging section, and separate points are there. Yeah, Shifa, Neeraj, Anubhav, Rishi, Shalini, Mausam, Jayendra, Rajveer, Anubhav, Mausam, Jayendra, Rajveer, Anubhav, Rishi, Shalini, 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 Mausam, Jayendra, Rajveer, Anubhav, Rishi, Now everybody has got it. They are mentioning in the financial year. Divya is saying, yeah, Divya, you got it right. Okay. So I think this point is now clear to you all. Now we'll take few more questions and then we will. Okay, Anubhav, now you're right. You have understood the concept. Mosam is saying, ma'am, here charged supply. Mosam, please reframe your query so that I can understand what you are exactly saying. Now, this is another query. Quickly answer it. This is also a very good point. Mr. Subbir has received watch worth rupees 20,000 from Shekhar Enterprises in September. Thereafter, he changed the employment. He went to some other employer and then he joined Purva Impacts. Now, Purva Impacts gifted him a mobile phone worth rupees 50,000 in October. Okay. Now, what will be the supply? Whether these transactions will qualify as supply or not? First of all, tell me that 50,000 mobile phone, 20,000 watch. Quickly give me the answer. Soumya saying not a supply. Mosam saying supply. Prem is saying no because Prem, I will not give the reason which you have mentioned because that is correct. That will give clear cue to all others. So Rajveer is saying no supply. Okay, Rajveer, you are right. Rishi, Anandruti, Ishan. Ishan is saying not a supply. Arundhati saying not a supply. Then Soumya, Divya, Nisha, Mahalakshmi, you rightly answered it. Bhumika, some problem in your answer. Then Rishi, some still you need to think on this question. And Shalini, you are right. In fact, Neeraj and Anubhav, you are right. Let's come to the answer. It is not a supply. Okay, I have to take other questions also, so I will a bit quick now in the questions. See, this point that the gift or the gift received by the or amount gifted, the whatever goods have been gifted or services have been gifted by the employer to an employee should not exceed 50,000. Now we are saying by the employer to an employee. Okay, so employer should be the same employer. We are talking about one employer because this is a supply from the in the hands of the which will be taxed in the hands of the supplier. Now here there will be two suppliers. One is Shekhar Enterprises. Value in case of Shekhar Enterprises is 20,000, which is less than 50,000. And then 50,000 he is getting from Purva Impacts, which is another employer. So he's getting it from two employers. Many of you have pointed it correctly, and I'm very happy that you were able to identify or appreciate this point that gift received from two different employers cannot be clubbed. Had it been, if the value here instead of 20,000 would have been 60,000, and here it would have been 55,000, then both these watch as well as both these gifts would have become supply. If the value would have exceeded 50,000, then we have to see individually. But we cannot club the amount, the gifts received from two employers by one person because suppliers are different. We have to see it employer wise. So employer wise 50,000 amount is there. Or the proviso which says about 50,000 limit, it applies employer wise. That is why it is not a supply. Yeah, now you have got. Not yet he changed the employee. Yeah, okay. You could not, Mosam could not appreciate that employer has been changed. Yes, Mosam, there were two employers actually. Now, Shekhar Enterprises has gifted the computers worth rupees 60,000 to his employee. It had not taken ITC on said computers. Now tell me whether it is a supply or not. Hmm. So Anubhav, Mahalakshmi, Rishi, Vishal, Bhumika, all of you have answered correctly. Soumya, Ishan. Okay, Ishan has given the reason also. Your reason is correct, Ishan. Janvi, then hmm. So Rajveer has actually got trapped in the catch. There is a catch here, Rajveer. So you have to once again see the question. Okay. Prem is saying, yeah, Prem, your answer is also correct. Rajitha, then Soumya, Anand, Ruti, Neeraj, Nisha. In fact, I'm happy that all of you are now able to answer correctly. So you have got that, you are able to appreciate those finer points, which I want all of you to understand and appreciate. Yeah, Charan, you are absolutely right. The reason which you have mentioned. Lakshmi, you are also right. Awesome. Good. I'm happy to see that now you have answered it correctly. Yeah, Divya, Soumya, everybody is in fact correct in this question. Now Rajveer has got the point that it is a supply. In fact, Rajveer, I hope that you have appreciated this point that it falls in para 2 of schedule 1. Yeah, that is, I'm happy to see that now you have understood the concept. So, since it is the, thank you, Rishi. So, it is a supply. Why is is it supply now? Because we are actually talking about a related person. We have supplied goods to a related person, which squarely falls in para 2. So we do not need to go to para 1, first of all. Secondly, there is no such restriction that ITC has to be taken in para 2. So in para 2, if you are supplying any goods to your related person or distinct person, then you need not fulfill the condition of taking ITC. Okay, Mosam is saying how to remember para and schedule for that. Mosam, I want to tell, you need not remember. I am just telling you the para number and schedule because I want you to correlate or recollect that what exactly the point which I am dealing with. In examination, it is not very much required that you mention the para number. Though schedule, I think you should remember. There are 3 schedules and they will not be difficult for you to remember. Today is your, initial classes are there. Now you have just started reading GST law. But once you are into this subject now, it will be very easy for you. You will be knowing schedule 1, 2, and 3 will be on your tips, and you will be easily, writing it in exam. Schedule 1 is where consideration is not there. Still, it is the activity amounts to a supply. Schedule 2 is classify. I have a question on that, so I will not tell you that right now. Then schedule 3 is non-supplies. That is there. So all 3 schedules you will be remembering very easily. That is not a difficult thing to remember. But we generally do not expect students to remember notification numbers, circular numbers, section, rule numbers. We expect our students to know the provision. Then the section numbers and rules, notification, circular numbers come. So if you can remember them, it gives an edge to your answer. But it is not expected from you in the examination that you have to write the section and rules also. In case you misquote it, then it will be an adverse situation. So we expect you to write the whatever if you remember section and rules for sure, then only you should write. Okay. Now we come to the next question. We'll be taking only no 5 to 7 minutes only. We'll be stretching the class. Then we have to wind up. Okay. Okay, Mawsam. I will try to do that. Mawsam is saying you take the revision. We'll try to continue with this setup as long as possible. Now, the next question is Gautam, an artist, appoints Gambhir. He's an auctioneer. Now, just to make things a bit easy for you, because I don't expect that you will be remembering, auctioneer is also included in the definition of agent. So when we have the definition of agent, it specifically says that if we are supplying goods on behalf of another person, then it includes auctioneer also. It is specifically included. I have started getting answers already. So auctioneer, matlab he is an artist and he appoints Gambhir to auction his paintings. Now Gambhir arranges for the auction and identifies the potential bidders. The highest bid is accepted and the painting is sold to the highest bidder. Now comes the next piece of information which is important. That invoice for the no, I'm wondering how am I getting the answers without getting this important piece of information. So it shows that some of you either are referring the study material for this example because this particular example is there in the study material. I want you to answer it on the basis of what you have learned. Okay, because this information was very important for answering the question. The invoice for the supply of the painting is issued by Gambhir. Okay, I'm highlighting this because I'm just giving you an idea that how you have to answer on behalf of Gautam, but in his own name. And the painting is delivered to the successful bidder. Now tell me whether it is a supply or not. So those of you who have answered before seeing this paragraph, now I want you to again go through the question and answer it. That what would be the correct answer? Invoice has been issued by the agent on behalf of Gautam, and this invoice has been issued in his own name. That means if this invoice is in the name of Gambhir, agent only. Agent has issued the invoice in his own name. It is not in the name of the principal. Okay, so I'm getting the answers. Neha, Aman, Soumya, then Rishi, Mehak, and Janvi. Okay, Bhumika, you're also right. All these people have answered correctly. Ishan has also answered correctly. In fact, my question first was that whether he is an agent as per para 3 of schedule 1. Then the second question is that whether it is a supply or not. So whether he is an agent as per para 3, because para 3 says that supply made by an agent on behalf of the principal, and supply of goods is only included here. That is also an important point, that in para 1 and para 3 only goods are being dealt. In para 2 both goods and services are there. This is the difference. So in whether this agent is an agent as per para 3 or not. Charan, you're right. Ishan is also right. Then I have Aman. Aman is also right. Divya. Then Mahalakshmi. Mosam, you're also right. Rajveer. Everybody is answering correctly. So that is very good. That means you all are actually making use of these classes and you are understanding the concept. Prem, Anubhav, all of you have answered correctly. In fact, those who have mentioned that it is not a supply, for them, I have to explain this point. So those who have answered that yes, it is a supply, Anubhav, Bhumika, then Rajveer, Soumya, Rishi, all of you are right. Janvi, Mehak. Okay. Yeah, we'll be conducting these quizzes. We'll try to conduct it as often as possible. Okay. Now, first of all, let us see. He is an agent. He is an agent as per para 3 of schedule 1. Why he is an agent? Because he is issuing invoice in his own name. If agent is issuing invoice in his own name, then he is an agent as per para 3. If he is issuing invoice in the name of the principal, though he is issuing the invoice, but the name in the invoice or GSTN in the invoice pertains to the principal, then he is not an agent as per para 3. Though he is being termed so that in the contract it would have been mentioned that he is an agent, but then he is not considered as an agent. Why? Because yeah, in my yeah, it is coming into your mind that he is an agent, but he will not be considered as an agent if he is not issuing invoice in his own name. He has to issue invoice in his own name to be an agent as per para 3 of schedule 1. In this case, since he is issuing invoice in his own name, so that is why he is an agent, and therefore this supply is a supply. This transaction, it qualifies as supply under para 3 of schedule 1. Okay, I hope everybody got this point. Now we come to the next point. Now we'll take these points quickly. Mr. Rudra has imported architect services free of cost from his brother, a well-settled architect in Germany, for his house. You have to tell whether it is a supply or not. And please give your answers quickly. I want to cover 2-3 points more, but at 5:30 sharp we'll end this session. Okay, because I think it will be stretched too much. So I want answer from all of you. Yeah. So see, Rudra has imported architect services. Some points to be stressed upon here are architect services, then free of cost, from whom he has taken brother, well-settled architect, and for his house. Okay. Now, let me see what answers I have got. Okay. Yes. Soumya, then I have got answer from, I will not tell whose answer is correct. I will just tell who all are answering. Soumya, Janvi, Ishan, Mausam, Mahalakshmi, Prem, Rajveer. Without consideration is everybody has identified that it is without consideration. Now, since it is without consideration, all of us know that it has something to do with schedule 1. So now whether it falls in schedule 1 or not, that is what we have to actually see. So Bhumika, Soumya, Charan, Charan, your answer is mm, mm. Try to remember that I will give you a hint also in this question. Para 4 of schedule 1. Try to remember the exact condition or the, I will not say conditions, the exact parameters of para 4. Para 4 says lot many things. So you have to see the exact, you have to see all the parameters. Okay. So I am getting lot many persons answering as supply, many people saying not supply. So those who are saying not a supply, I want a bit small reason also why you are saying it is not a supply. In fact, I will take question after this, one question also similar to this. A small difference will be there. That also I will take. After that, we'll wind up the class. Mosam is saying, I feel it's supply since it is free of cost. Okay. Rajita is saying without consideration. Yes, Rajita, you're right. It is without consideration. You have to tell whether it is supply or not. So let us wait for 30 more seconds and then we'll discuss the answer. And we'll discuss why whether it is a supply or not, but reason for that. Because here it is very important to see why the particular answer which we have arrived at, what is the reason for that? That is very important. So Soumya has also answered. First of all of you tell me whether brother of Mr. Rudra is related to him or not. Just simply quickly answer related, not related. I want it in the chat box. Whether brother of Mr. Rudra is related to Mr. Brother, he is a related person. He is related, I would say he is a member of the family, but whether he is a related person as per the definition of GST law, as per definition in the GST law. Now let me see the answers. Okay. Bhumika saying related, Rajveer also saying same, Neeraj, then Mehek, Janvi. Anubhav is saying not related. Anubhav, any reason for that? Soumya saying related. Okay. So in fact, everybody is saying it is related except one, and I want reason for that. That why you feel it is not related. Give me the reason also. Brother of Mr. Rudra. Anubhav is saying related. Anubhav, you had actually been on the other side, and now you have also moved to the with the majority that I think they are right. Okay. But let us see. Brother of Mr. Rudra is not related to Mr. Rudra. So this is a catch in this point, in this particular question, that Anubhav, you said it, but then you changed it also. So you have to be now with the last answer which you have mentioned. Soumya is saying it is not in course of business. That point is there, Soumya. But first point which is here is that this whether brother of Mr. Rudra is related to him or not. For this, we have to go to the definition of related person. Related person says that members of same family. Explanation to section 15 defines related person. It says that members of same family are considered to be related. Now we come to family, definition of family. Family says a person shall be, just let me see that. Family means the spouse and children of a person and his grandparents, his parents, his brother and sister will be considered as family. Now, this condition which I'm telling you is related to grandparents, parents, brother and sister. They will be considered as family only when that person is wholly or mainly dependent on the person with whom we are talking about. So his brother would have been his related person or his family member only when he had been wholly or mainly dependent on Mr. Rudra. Now, his brother is a well settled architect in Germany, so he's not at all dependent on Mr. Rudra for his earning. Only his parent, only his spouse, and children. These two persons will always be his family, whether they are dependent or independent. But in this case, his brother is not dependent on Mr. Rudra, and that is why he is not related. Now, the second condition which all of you were talking about, that he is not doing it and getting these services in course or furtherance of business, that was also correct. That the second condition is also not fulfilled. Para 4 says that import of services from a related person in course or furtherance of business. Now, import of services is correct. That has been there in this case. But brother is not related. in course or furtherance of business is also not there. That is why it is not a supply. So two conditions or two parameters are not being fulfilled. Yeah, that is why he is not related. Yes, Mosam, now you have got it. Divya, Bhumika says reside, even if they reside together, but that person is earning very well. Though in case of import, it is not possible for these two to reside together. He would have definitely been in some other country. But these two persons are related only when the other person is wholly dependent on him. So even if the person is in Germany, he should be dependent on Mr. Rudra for his earning. Okay. So all of you got this point. Now, this is a very important point which you should know. In fact, similar question I'm taking again. Now, this question now you will be able to answer very easily. Mr. Rudra has imported architect services free of cost from his brother, a well-settled architect in Germany, for his office. Answer, in fact, this I will not, wait for your answers. Now, it is very simple that since he is not related, so one condition I've already quite, educatedly explained this point. So now all of you can answer that it is not a supply. Still getting answers as supply. But why am I getting answer as supply? Because I'm still getting answers that it is a supply. It will not be a supply because though it is for business purpose, now it is for business purpose, but I told you all the parameters have to be satisfied. So this brother is still not related, na? This brother cannot become related simply because it is in course or furtherance of business. So this activity, this import of services is in course or furtherance of business, but this person services have been provided from an unrelated person. Since brother is well settled in architect in Germany, he cannot be considered as a related person, and that is why it is not a supply. Mosam is saying for his office. Mosam, you are right. He is taking these services, he importing these services for his office, but from whom he is taking these services, that person is not related because he is well settled in Germany. He is not dependent on his brother. So that fact still remains the same in this question. If you see the previous question, in the previous question, his brother, a well settled architect in Germany, he was taking for his house. So both the conditions were not satisfied. It is not related, and business test was also not satisfied. But here, though first condition is satisfied that one condition that is he is taking it in course of furtherance of business, but still brother is not related person, and that is why para 4 cannot be attracted. Now we come to next point. This is the last question for the day. After that, we'll wind up the session. Though we have more questions, we'll take it in the next class. Mr. Rudra has imported architect services free of cost from his brother, who has gone to Germany for studies on Mr. Rudra's expenses for his office. Now he has taken this architect services for his office. Now I want correct answers from all of you. Correct answer. Okay, now let me see. Ishan, Charan, Divya, Prem. Divya, you are saying he is dependent. Yeah, you are right. Bhumika, then Mosam, Anandruti, Shifa, then Rajveer. All of you are right. I've got correct answers. And Soumya, then two Soumya are there. Both of them have answered correctly. Janvi is also right. One answer which I got a different answer. Rajita, I think. Rajita has answered. Rajita, can you give me the reason also why you have answered this? Then, yeah, Rajita has also now answered it correctly. So this is a supply. And all of you have answered it correctly that he is a related person because his brother is in Germany, he's studying there. And he can supply services. There is no bar on that. Even if he is studying, he is not a entrepreneur, but still he can provide services to his brother. He is doing it for his office because you know that, and it is in course of furtherance of business. These services are being received or being imported in course of furtherance of business for the office purposes. It is being done. So import of services from a related person in course or furtherance of business qualifies as supply even if it is without consideration. Okay. So with this, we come to an end of this session. We will be taking more of such questions. I had more questions with me today, but I will not be able to take them now. We have already exceeded. If possible, we'll take it in the next session. In fact, we'll be taking it in the next session. And so you have to be very attentive in the next session, as well as you have to go and see the lecture again, or whatever points you have felt that you have to again see, you have to stress upon certain points, some clarifications you require, you have to see those points, because everything has been discussed in your class very meticulously and very carefully. Everything has been dealt with you. Only thing, you have to be very attentive and you have to appreciate those finer points to know the correct answer. So with these questions, in fact, you will know in the next class that where you have to be very attentive. Otherwise, some of your questions will get wrong. Okay. Okay. So thank you, Rishi. Thank you, Janvi, Awesome, Rajveer, and thank you to all of you, Bhumika. Thank you so much. So I hope this session helped you, and it gives you an idea also that what you have actually learned in the session. And we'll try to be to continue with such type of quiz sessions, because whatever you are doing in the class, we'll be able to assess that immediately, that yes, this is what I have learned. Okay. Thank you, Soumya. Thank you, Prem. So we'll be taking more of such questions in the next classes. Don't worry. Only thing we need, if some of you feel that you can share your feedback with us, then we'll be knowing that yes, this is something which you require. We'll be doing more of such sessions. Okay. Thank you, Deepak sir. Thank you so much. So we are ending the session, sir, with this. Yes. Thank you so much. Bye.
Recording stopped.